At 2505, portals appeared in the sky. Demonic substances came to Earth. Humanity was trying to resist the miracles for the help of military forces. We couldn't escape the disaster. Only 3 years later, their supernatural thoughts awakened, and the stinkers became metahumans. Then the struggle for survival began. However, between ordinary people and those who are of little value, there was a break. Meta people got together and created a safe zone for themselves, so-called place. Everything that was beyond these boundaries was dubbed the desert. The hero Sven himself lived in such minds. He didn't mention the above-mentioned things, but an invisible voice called to the boy to kill the metahumans. The people from the unsafe zone have learned to survive. The stinks will spit on low-level monsters to produce their cores. The leading hero also suffers his fate at the clearing. Vin knows the territory and the local monsters well, and that means the role of a guide for metahumans is empty. At the final village, Sven quickly explained to the team that their goal was a rank 19 copper spider. I'll first save my legs and then my heads. Those Misliftsy did not listen to the guards of the guide with enough respect. The monster appeared suddenly and immediately attacked. Everyone swore in fear of the giant monster. Sven called upon the Mislyites to advance. However, I haven't heard anything from anyone. Todigostra Nachelezo, the spider web of the monster, spared the head of one member of the team. And then the main hero of the wise, who are Mislift's newcomers. The boy was paid a lot of money for his support, but now Sven understands why. The leader of the group rushed to the attack. Then I immediately froze in my mind electric discharge. For a good hour it was desolate. There was only so much left to save the Gate of Endings. Instead, his team attacked the main body of the monster. The Mitya spider came to you and dealt a fatal blow to the Mislivians. Only the leader of the group felt overwhelmed. The man rushed to attack again. Al, the monster's claw, limped Yogo. With the remaining strength, Mislivets once again stagnated the electric discharge. The spider threw the leader of the group. I immediately aimed at Sven. Now Yumu, not metahumans, will have to self-defeat the monster. It's an hour at the 17th zone of Nod, where Sven is supposed to arrive, and branch manager Kim Bus has taken the call away from his seat. Beatrice, who created and maintains the dry bar of the safe zone, has problems. For this reason, Kim Bus asked the secretary to call the Misliv team Marlin. I also noted that Sven still hasn't turned back from watering on the honey spiders, and he immediately let out a compliment, knowing for a fact that the main hero would not be lost. At this hour, Sven was preparing to fight the monster. The boy had already come up with a strategy and drawn a gun. She miraculously attacked the Persh. Having lost his temper, the lead hero let go of a Dakilka sack. The leader of the group, who was accompanied by Sven, is still alive, and I was against the boy's attempt to smite the spider. However, the main hero shot unexpected bullets. Then there were balls of cannonballs and stench swelled, strongly attacking the monster. Sven was angry that through such liars they were stealing valuable goods. But you don't understand anything anymore. The boy began to cut off the ends of the spider. Then I spared my head. Sven realized that the newbie team was lying about their rank. The stinkers told Noda that they had killed a rank 18 salamander, presenting its skin as proof. However, the skin itself sheds once per river. Sven's anger has ignited so much that he will be able to kill the leader of the lying group. And the boy rapidly felt a voice that spunked at the work. Deceiving Nodu is equal to the utmost evil. Ale slovne heronem of bravo fix justice. Before that, I took the liar off for what he deserved. Vin, like his comrade, died under the paws of a honey spider. Only Sven didn't understand what was behind the voice in his head. Turning around at Area 17, the lead hero immediately started making jokes about the culprits, and I appreciated that Jamie's secretary was calming everything down. The girl admitted the truth, saying that she herself had been deceived, and Sven learned that he still deals with Nod only through the branch director. And also having said that I hate metahumans and their bestiality. Sensing this knowledge, Xionghu is a wise man, who himself arrived for Kim Bus's sorrows. Having stagnated physical strength, Sven was locked up with one blow, and then squeezing him to the wall, threatening him with violence. Luckily, my wife Park In-jung came with him at the same time. Vona told her friend about the inheritance of an attack on member Noda. The girl, like Xionghu, is a metahuman of the 17th rank, Yi Vimnya, strengthening the dawn. Yongjung clearly stands for the rules of Nod, a united guild, as it fights to save the world in the desert. And then Xionghu let go of the main character. At this moment, the leader of the Marlin group himself, Chon Chansu, appeared. And now the whole team was assembled. Only this moment alerted the main character. Sven and the branch director of the 17th zone asked for permission. It turns out that Beatrice's stature, which is supported by the dry barer of the Guangmen place, is immersed. Once you lose your knowledge and then the barer knows. Initially, the inhabitants of the place of self-exhumation were kidnapped by monsters as soon as they were caught. When a high-ranking monster appeared, a lot of people died. Without fail, the metahumans of Guangmen decided to ask the empty people for help. The situation with Beatrice is getting worse. How many times for the viconic roll of bait for the hour of the borrow's knowledge is the enormity of the place? Let's face it, revoking Kwanmun's right to reside is practically unrealistic, and the whole team of Marlin was good enough to vacate the factory. Sven also decided to take his fate from him. The Mislivtsi destroyed the wound until Kwangmun. Sven knew well how to bypass all high-rank monsters. If the leader of the team, Jung Chang-soo, is ranked 10th, it's worth it. And then the main hero quickly marked the path on the map, and the Mislivets set off on the road. But not too long ago, Sven jabbered, you have marked the monster's trail. The boy asked Young to say, powering up the gaze to confirm his guesses, and it appeared that a horde of hobgoblins was passing nearby. The stench fell directly from the protege, but when they smelled the scent of Mislivs, they changed it. The fragmented team has only 2 fighters in close combat, causing Sven to collapse towards the bridge. In this manner, the people hoped to take a prime position for battle. The team was virishing wildly. Seongwoo was hesitant to bear Injong, Vickery, and physical enhancement. It was not at all proper for him to follow the guide's words. Although there was a lot of fighting, the horde was approaching even faster. Hobgoblins are promoted up to rank 18. I want one by one the monsters to be weaker than the honey spider. Its power lies in the power of communication. I walked the whole way to the Sven Bridge thinking about strategy. 2 Mislivs with physical strengths of the 17th and 10th rank. Not so bad. If Songhu and Changsu can stand up to the monsters in the middle of the bridge, then everything will end well. However, the main character was praised by a friend of a change, that is, Injong. In a battle, the stench is unlikely to help. And then Sven won't look any better. Having reached the bridge, the lead hero took a position in the front, capturing Injong. The Mislivsi were preparing for battle. Changsu activated physical strength. With one blow, I killed dozens of hobgoblins. Sunhu also tried not to get up. And then Sven realized that he was freely complaining. He has never fought with Chansu in battle, although he wanted to be his guide more than once. At that moment, she licked one hobgoblin behind the backs of the Mislivians. Win grabbed Injong by the hair and was about to hit him with a juice. Seonghu wants to come to the rescue, but the main hero starts singing that he will get into trouble. Then Sven rushed to the girl and twisted her in the face of the hobgoblin's blow. The monster's respect switched to the boy. Swinging his sword, he approached the main character. At the moment of the second strike, Injong arrived to help. Vona stabbed Estoda in the back with a dagger. Then the main hero Midi beat the monster from the bottom and decapitated him. At this point, Songhu and Changsu successfully completed the battle against the Ordi. The leader of the group praised the Self-Propulsion's decision to deal with the monster. If only one of them had come to the rescue, the hobgoblins would not have been able to touch the chest. Xionghu was not captured to see what happened. That Sven said to himself for those who did not get out of trouble as a result. Not caring at all, the team destroyed the distance. Luckily, the Stinks are no longer in pursuit of the monsters, and the never-endingly mystical people soaked the dry dome of the Gwangmun town. As they approached the Bareru, Seonghu and Injong were unable to stream their performance. The stench began to smell like that. The girl brought her hand up to the dome, and then Seonghu Michu pushed forward. Pointing at the bar, Injong became even more angry. However, within a second, I realized that nothing terrible had happened. More importantly, she didn't notice anything at all, and it was wonderful. I couldn't believe that this very dome had been protecting the place from monsters for 10 years. The Mislivsi fell forward. Without any problem, the stench overtook the barer. Away, another membrane was visible on them. Security guards stood in front of the gate. They immediately asked the Mislivians for documents. Changsu introduced himself and presented his passport. Identification was successful. Then it's okay to see the skin bracelet. Wear yoga, obowiązkowa umova. It is important to take revenge on the core. As soon as the rules of the place are violated, it wobbles. They were also warned that they were not ready to leave their chambers after the sun had set. This is due to the fact that city residents become worried when people walk the streets empty. All these steps merely confirm the tension between these two lights. I'm sorry, the Mislivsi went to Gwangmun. The stench led to a completely different life there. People simply walked the streets, drank kava, and rested on benches. Everything was like this. Before the end of the world passed over this territory. Taking advantage of the chance, Sven decided to listen to the deeds of the Red speech. The team headed to the apartment. Even at the entrance to the gate, the main hero did not even get along with the girl because she was already in a hurry. Vaughn didn't mention that she had lost her document. Sven picked up the card but didn't reach the ruler. Then the boy concentrated on the main goal, adding several sets for submersion underwater, then put a vibrator on the display window. It turns out that this word is given for a decade of sickness to spare the gaze of the wounded. The lad believes that we won't notice this either. At that moment, the same girl Marie rushed to the store, having lost her access card. Sven joyfully turned back the ruined river of hair. Marie, as a senior scientific specialist in research and development, wanted to follow up. Vona thought that Sven was a metahuman, but the lad had blocked it. That girl was already cheering. and she even heard the signal that spoke of the gate. However, Marie could not determine the memory of the hero. Sven became very angry, even knowing for sure that the girl had mercy. Prot, when you arrive at your chambers, without stopping to think about it, you will always want to become a metahuman. I looked for signs of awakening, but nothing happened. Having abandoned empty hopes, the main character became a guide. And now it appears that there is still a chance to bring about peace. Marlin's team attacked the defense of the city in an offensive attack. Other Mislivians also arrived. It took 10 seconds for the bar to understand. Kozin was preparing for a bitter fight against demonic monsters. The members of Marlene's team wanted to hear the main character's remarks again. Sven identified the priority as living. As soon as the bar brightened up, the Mislivians rushed to the attention of the Veletensky mosquitoes. Already from the very first seconds of the siege between people and demonic beasts, victims appeared. One of the Mislivits tried to turn back at the place to turn around. However, the guards killed him, cold-bloodedly dealing with it. By this time, Marlin's team had already fled to the point of buying up monsters. It has long since become clear to Kwang Moon about the people from the desert. All the stinks are just bait to gain the respect of the monsters. High-ranking meta-humans themselves can be turned away from monsters. However, the stench was quickly cleared by the forces of people and the deserted. Raptor Minjong told us that we need to get ahead of buying up monsters. Say Raptori 9th rank, one such monster can destroy an entire horde of hobgoblins in a second. And it is not wise for him to enter into battle with these animals. The Axis and the time has come to pick up the fitting kits for weaving. Sven knows the swamp and drank from him. Even if it was not accepted, this is the only way for the heroes to meet and live. Myslivets. Marlin lay patiently by the swamp, while the bloody beach sharpened on the dry land. And when the screams died down, Sven climbed out of the shelters and changed his mind, and the monsters left. Now the people of Misli need to live until the Bara reappears. And the main character knows that if you follow the raptors, the level of alertness of other monsters is minimal. And then the team went to search for the hideout. The Mislivsi huddled at the old ruined booth. It seemed that the worst was behind us. Al Raptum Sven felt a wondrous sound. Everyone was wary. Injong Michu extinguished the light. It was dark outside and practically nothing was visible. And in just a few seconds, the lead hero noticed all the eyes of the demonic beast. The Black Mantis has appeared for a long time. No one understood why Sven was so angry. It turned out that this was not without reason. There is no information about this monster. We don't know what rank or weak spot he has. And those who dare to enter the territory of the raptors say that the Black Mantis is the strongest for them. And it is clear that the rank of this monster is significantly higher than 9. A dozen pine trees miraculously howled at the Mislivtsev, and then disappeared into the darkness. The team took a defensive position. Injong Michu activated Power the Gaze and began to poke around the monster. No matter how hard I tried, nothing came of it. Raptum Stan sensed the sound of someone approaching, and now the Black Mantis has fallen behind him. Luckily, the boy managed to put a dagger in front of him and block the monster's attack. The wounded Sven did not recover, but from a strong blow he flew to the point of standing up. Before that, the boy let go of his dagger and could not recognize him in the darkness. That's it. But Injung noticed that the mantis was going to attack the hero and the beast. At the last moment, Changsu rushed to help Sven. I was caught up in the attack. The team leader ordered the lead hero to step up. He accepted the fight. From now on, the advantage was on the side of the monster through the darkness. Sven helped Abi by throwing a cannonball at the captain. Seongu wants to join before the battle, but the team leader has blocked it. And I understood why. If two people in an enclosed space begin to wave their armor, they can give harm to one another. The leader of the team has pushed his position to the next level. And then the monster attacked. It was not easy for Shansu to block the blows, but he managed to cope. The nativist mantis was captured, it seemed, without fuss. The struggle was exhausting, and Changsu's strength was exhausted. The monster squeezed. Then the mantis uncomfortably pierced the leg of the group leader with its front claw. Sunhu didn't flinch and rushed to help, but he didn't manage to hit. The monster threw the attacker so that he crashed against the wall. Uvaga Chansu immediately switched to her comrade, and at this moment the mantis struck the leader's shoulder. This was a blow. Now only Sven and Injong are lost. The monster's sly gaze immediately concentrated on its advancing victims. The leading hero looked at the weak mantis with a feverish glance. Vin still marveled at the miracle. When the monster approaches, Sven loses his respect to pieces as he unites the womb with the breasts. You believe that this is the same weak point. Plucking up courage, the lead hero rushed forward and placed the dagger at the target. However, the forest jumped up without stripping the rags. The nativist mantis kindly hit the attacker. Then the creature approached the main character and placed its claws next to the victim's head. Sven realized that this is the end, but the monster was in no hurry to kill him. He looked up to the boy and looked at him in such a way that he wanted to be filled with this incredible fear. Slein dripped from the mouth of the praying mantis, and Sven, closing his eyes, prepared to become a hedgehog. Then I suddenly felt a wonderful clicking sound. The praying mantis also reacted, and then he abruptly left the place and left the scene. Sven allowed the demonic essences to coalesce among themselves. You have never felt a sound like this before. Tim, what happened was that Injung was completely unbanned. I'm glad that they lost their lives. Now the main character has noticed that the bracelets are on their hands. This means that the borrower of the place has already returned. Changsu to Seonghu was badly damaged. And then the Mislovians were preparing to turn to Kwangmun as soon as possible. After the barrier was activated, the guards of the place began to kill the dead. The stench did not recognize the thirsty living inhabitant of the desert, but it didn't bother anyone. However, he immediately noted that he was approaching the place. This is the Marlin team. The stench began to reach Gwangmun. The Mislivians were immediately given a proper feast. Tilki Injong has become unskilled, and now the girl was talking about the dressed leader of the group and making fun of him to eat well. A few days later, the intercessor of the director of the local administration visited the doctor. You want to talk to Changsu alone? And the team's mind was already guessing about what had happened in the corridor. Songhu respected that the intercessor had arrived and discussed it with the city. There was no doubt in my mind that enormity was taking away. Nativist Sven, having taken note that Denmark's visit does not foresee anything good. At this moment, Defender Jinsen expressed his shock at what the whole team was witnessing. Changsu knew that everyone was a guide. A decade after the Defender left the room, the team found out the reason for the visit. Seonghu could not be accepted by those who had only received 2 majorities from the administration of the place, and they simply said that they were taken away by Sven and Injong. It's true that I made such a decision to accept Changsu. The leader of the group appreciates that there is still a chance for him and Sunhu to break away from the greatness. Sven Razumiv is a stormy comrade, however. He is not willing to give up his pride. The episode ended with Sunhu leaving the room and closing the door. Changsu began to sing that the boy would understand everything and calm down, but the main hero would be on guard. Anxiety did not leave the boy when night came, and it's not for nothing. As soon as Seonghu finished his bed, the leader went to sleep and immediately began work. He approached Changsu's bed and stabbed the Yuma at the chest with a knife. The leader of the group, with all his remaining strength, grabbed the defender by the throat, but could no longer do anything. In a decade, everything was gone. Seonghu realized that Sven was sensitive. Vin Mitya approached the bed and stabbed him hard with a knife. Prot, the main character, was not there. At this moment, a grenade fell in front of the evildoer. After Vibuhu Seonghu spent his salary Bachiti, and then Sven attacked him from behind. The boy went around the hole with his feet and stabbed him in the neck with a knife. Then a familiar voice sounded at the head of the main character, ordering Seonghu to be killed. Now Sven understands that he didn't succeed in the clearing against the honey spider. At this moment, Sunhu squeezed the main character to the wall, and the table was very strong, so Sven died. The evildoer was struck with a sudden realization. I couldn't survive after being wounded in the neck. But Songhu suffered the most from those who gave the fatal blow to the lad without remembering. In just a few seconds, the wretch fell to the bottom of the dead. After this, Sven felt a surge of strength in his body and a rapid surge of strength. We realize that we are awakening. Then the lad got confused in his head and will have to remember that he will soon waste his money. And then he hastened to find a means of killing, and then threw out the blood from the bottom of the eyelid. At this moment, he called out to Changsu. Surprisingly, he is still alive. A few days later, Sven appeared before the court. The bloody scene was discovered by the medical guards, who sensed wondrous sounds. At the time the crime was revealed, the lead hero was already irreplaceable. Seonghu died of arterial bleeding, and the leader of the group also lost a lot of blood after being wounded and died on the spot. Suspicions arose about Injong, and there was little alibi. And now the jury was willing to find out about the situation from Sven. The main character reported that a stranger had escaped from the room and was under attack. The senator of the place did not have the duty to find out from the right inhabitants of the desert, so he believed the boy. That intercessor said that despite the amount of blood in the room, it was not detected in the corridor, and he suspects that the main character was attacked. In response to his protest, Sven said that he had no motive. He would not have become so irritated by enormity, as if he had taken away so much. Besides, the guy is not a metahuman, and he would hardly be able to get 2 people out of their minds. And it seemed quite logical. At least just Ale. After surviving the past, the original people have already died. Natimus Sven was quickly restored, and the defender doubts that the boy has no merit. And to verify this, Jensen called Mary from the investigation. The main character is already crazy. The girl herself insisted that she was a metahuman even before awakening, and there is no doubt that this will be confirmed in court. And then, instead of the massiveness, the main hero rejects the accusation of murdering his comrades. The hour began to slow down for Sven when Mary arrived. Vona took the boy's hands and groaned. And oh so terrible Virok, the lead hero, closed his eyes. So in my mind I realized that this very tragic night was coming. When Sven fired the kill shot, he called out to the team leader. With the rest of his strength, He asked the hero to run away before Seonghu kills him. Sven did not shed his tears. For the rest of his life, Changsu swore about him. If the leader of the group is locked, the lead hero feels the already familiar pulsation in his body. It felt the same as at the hour of awakening, only this time it was much stronger. Sven remembered Changsu. Vibukov's spine rolled over the body of the lad, and he was unpretentious. About an hour later, Marie let go of the hero's hands. Vaughn is ready to announce the result. All of Sven's nerves tensed at that moment. That girl said that the main character is not a metahuman. The intercessor of the director of the local administration was not aware of such a turn. Vinba Piven, show Sven is a driver. The hero himself was no less amazed. Then the director of the administration ordered to check the alibis of everyone who took part in the defense of the place. Obviously, the reason for the attack was the removal of the population. Raptum, Sven voiced that he seemed to be enjoying himself and wanted to turn around at the desert. From the very beginning, we appreciated that the leader of the group, Changsuta Injong, was a leader of the community. That fragment became the reason for a brutal killing. The hero did not want to suffer from trouble. This statement made Sven suspicious, and he was released. Already after the trial, the lad said goodbye to Injong and left the desert. She caught up with Mary on the way. Vaughn didn't want to learn from the hero, which is why he killed his comrades. Marie believed that she couldn't do it any other way. The girl's name was different. I haven't seen the main character for anyone's sake. Marie heard special signals from the boy. The stench is quite noticeable from the quiet ones that sound sharper. Metahumans are supposedly divided into 6 categories. These are physical enhancements, supernatural forces, magical technologies, instruments of evil, psychopathy, and magic. However, there are some that cannot be classified. Senator Beatrice will be with them. It would only be possible to create a dry bar with an area of tens of square kilometers. From Beatrice, there are special signals and smells similar to those that Mary heard from the main character. The girl is convinced that Sven has great potential. Beatrice supports the bar near the place for dozens of rocks. Indeed, the people of Gwangmun have once again tasted the taste of life. The senator's health has significantly deteriorated. She may not sleep and sacrifices herself for the sake of others. Having covered up Sven at the trial, Marie harbors the hope that she has not earned in vain. When special metahumans come together, they are likely to be able to defeat demonic beasts. The main character will be the most popular among all these words. Having forgotten about physical strength, the boy decided that he would be promoted to the strength category. However, Marie sang that Sven created to destroy humanity by expanding its potential. At this moment, the main hero looked at the Beatrice Tower. The senator immediately turned away, and it seemed to the boy that they were staring at him. After breaking up with Mary, Sven continued his journey. Over the past few days, a lot has happened. The death of comrades, a new awakening, a trial, a voice in the head that calls to kill metahumans. Seeing this, Sven's head was ready to swell. That statement by Mary about those who could steal humanity was already beyond the scope of the possible, and then the main hero will focus on his reality. For people, empty firebrands are worth living. Having awakened, Sven decided to test his powers, and I've chosen a great place for training in Mukden. But there's already a demonic beast looking at him. From the dark promenade, scaly teeth, a sharp whale of the 16th rank jumped out. With crazy speed, he attacked the boy. The hero managed to get smart. Sven Ochima started Shukati's Naryadya for Zakistu. And make sure to mark the sewer hatch nearby. Having activated physical strength, the lead hero grabbed the cap. She was caught in the attack of the monster. Todi Sven struck again, and behind him there is another one. Bay picking up wrappers. But in just a few weeks it was all over. Sven will win. Then the lad will remove his lower legs and the spores of the beast. The city itself was known there for its efforts. The cores. Having collected every single one, the main hero continued his journey. You can overcome an enemy of rank 16, and you already have great reach at a certain level of forces. Raptum, Sven marked the horn for fresh blood. However, the victim's body was nowhere to be found. The boy guessed what was on the right-hand side. At that moment, something passed behind me. Sven prepared for the battle and nodded. So if you look at the other place, you will notice a lot of squealing children. The lad understands what the inhabitants of Mukdong are. Then I felt a rustling sound from behind. See to Sven already rushing along like an unknown. Luckily, the lead hero overtook the reactor. He did not want to harm the local residents, so he killed the attacker with a blow to his life. However, after this, the stranger pointed a gun at Sven. The Ditlas rushed to their hut. Knocked down at gunpoint, the lead hero turned around in confusion and turned to the wall. She immediately revealed that she is a metahuman and does not intend to do evil to anyone. Abi finishes this. Sven breaks through the wall with one blow. Todi said that Nod would take revenge for the attack on his representative. The stranger lowered his guard under the risk of punishment from Zone 17. Sven began to sing that he just wanted to be deprived of a carefree place for 10 days. Then he turned around and realized that he couldn't shoot the stranger. The Sabroya is charged with a core. No one will vainly vicarize this resource. The stranger was willing to help, as Sven would give all the cores, as it were, to the outpost, the main hero of Vikunavumovu. And then the boy shot at the wall to show that Sven had mercy. This pistol can be fired without a hitch once for the shell of one cannonball. And this is due to the magical technology that increases the efficiency of the energy of a single charge. After this, the stranger took off his mask and introduced himself as Aaron. The boy followed Sven at gunpoint to his butt, and it turned out that the residents of Mokdong were procrastinating a lot. This makes it easier to get out of the way. The found heroes reached the headquarters. Aaron immediately reported the situation to leader Mokdong Rainey. Using the Vicarist notification system, the woman announced the arrival of a guest from Noda. Everyone reacted immediately. They didn't roll their eyes at Sven. Reina explained that Mokdong was currently at war with the murderers, and that there was a shortage of provisions. Apparently, at the moment, the guests are asking for them. Ale Sven asked for additional help. In the desert, you have to fight not only against demonic beasts. There is a great threat posed by the killers, who have driven the entire human race out of the water and attacked members of their own species. Moreover, the stench lingers on the flesh of people. Currently, there are over a dozen cannibals lost, although previously there were 100. The Mokdong people succeeded in saving more, but they realized that they had spent a lot. The main problem is that the middle ones are metahumans. Most of them are weak. However, the leader of the cannibals has already caused a lot of trouble for Mokdong. Having heard everything about the situation, the main character decided to take up the task of killing, and in exchange for the price, asking for acquaintance with a local magic technician. Reina really wanted to kill the killer cannibals, so she took advantage of Sven's proposal. The boys were escorted to the magic technician under the watchful gaze of Aaron. But when the hero realized that the girl Mina was still very young, he was quite surprised. The boy looked at the tools that were lying on the table. I was immediately aware that the stink was disastrous. The pistol, which Sven took to his hands, was not able to withstand the impact of the shot, and Aaron has already changed his mind. Then I respect the hero by turning the melody sword. She called him a failure. Not listening to the girl's guard, Sven wanted to get closer to her. The boy hung the cannonballs on the table. That Minya asked to take it back since she had no intention of selling the failed wines. Sven did not hesitate, even realizing that the girl was simply responsible for creating artifacts. At the moment when the main character tries to reach the core, he inadvertently bumps into the girl's hands. Then both were caught in the act. Information poured into Sven Nibby's head. Aaron didn't get this moment at all. Reina also realized that there was a lot of difference between Sven and Mina. The main character folded his hands and looked through those who were thinking about him. Then a voice sounded again in the boy's head, calling to kill and take Minya's name. Sven already let in his new sword, after which the main hero is most likely. Finding himself alone in the room, Sven consoled himself with hopes about the fact that the voice in his head had suddenly disappeared. So call it out. However, as soon as the boy woke up from his slumber, Sunhu and that same voice appeared in his dreams. Todi dreamed of Mina. Sven broke out in a cold sweat. This passion did not end until the evening. Having thrown away all the guesses, the main hero fell into ruin. Together with Aaron, they occupied an empty cell near the killer cannibal's location. It was clearly visible from the stars how the defense of the opponents was organized. Aaron also informed that Warto be careful about killing the barefoot, as if the lad didn't get caught by the Yoma. The peculiarity of that scoundrel is swidness. Having guessed about it, Aaron took it upon himself to put away the sniper rifle. Chu prepared Minnie. The girl did not manage to finish the wine for a long time due to the shortage of kernels, otherwise Sven was killed. And now Aaron has a weapon that shoots cannonballs and is practically silent. The main character also prepares his sword. It's safe to open the hole for the core. The more cores, the stronger the sword. However, Minnie was unable to create more openings, as the structure of the armor was destroyed. That Sven may leave. This one has a pure core based on Kwanmuni. Especially, the fragments must take back the energy of 10 primary nuclei. Aaron Bov of enemies. You have never been to the place. And not long after the boy was born, Mokdong was destroyed by demonic beasts. When this place was part of Seoul, 10 million people lived here. Mokdong was significantly larger than Gwangmun. However, now only the ruins have been lost. Aaron knew that he even wanted to live near the place. And then the main hero guessed how much Seonghu wanted. Having thrown out some unpleasant thoughts, Sven concentrated on his task. First of all, I decided to check my new sword. The hero tossed the seed and with one indifferent wave cut it clean. The preparation was completed. Sven is about to attack at night. In fact, most of us want to check the strength of the powers that be, and the weakness of the wicked is just a bonus. Once it was already dark enough and most of the cannibals had fallen asleep, the main hero began his work. The reserve of Aran. Protect the guards who are found at the gates. And the hero himself took hold of the Reshta. Sven quietly crept up. He easily dealt with 2 security guards on the street. She became unable to cope with the situation. One of the guards on the hole after the shooting of Aaron, shutting down the spotlight. The light turned around the leader's window and woke him up. Tim and Sven had already entered the office. Another cannibal was killed. The main character realized how easy it is for metahumans to get in touch with normal humans. At that moment, the leader of the assassination, Raymond, appeared behind Sven. He got very close and knocked the hero down. Having pressed Sven to the ground with his knee, Raymond set out to find out who the culprits and the intelligence of the arrivals were. But at this moment, the villain realized that the main hero was a metahuman. In case of scalding, the cannibal pulled away from Sven. She got ready in a few seconds and threw the boy out the window. Aaron is on guard for everything that happens. Following Sven, the leader of the cannibals emerged. Luckily, the main character was able to escape from the attack of the beast. Other cannibals rushed to help Raymond. At this moment, Aaron began to shoot. The goal didn't work out. The leader killed the meeting and identified himself as a sniper. Aaron continued to shoot, but Raymond was overly quick and calm. That bastard immediately punished Arana with his subjects. Al the lad was already preparing for such a turn. He carefully placed the anonymous pastures all over the place and went out to the fields himself. Tim, an hour later, the lead enemy rushed to attack. That Sven appeared for the new one as much as necessary. Raymond saw the sword from the hands of the main character. And we understand that the boy is still not at all able to use his power. The leader asked the hero to join the team of cannibals. Alice Sven got excited. Toddy Raymond, singing at his paramosa, called the main character the Mighty Grass. I'll continue to live. Having lost his temper, Sven tried to calm down. He is not at all satisfied with the fight against metahumans, having repeatedly fought with demonic beasts. And the hero tried to realize that standing before him was an animal in the form of a human. In this way, Sven is inspired to analyze the enemy's behavior and find a way to win. Raymond's servants had already reached the top, and with all their might they were trying to get out. Prodaran closed the doors carefully. And now you'll have to wait for the time to come so that you can shoot at the leader. Tim and Sven realized that the strengths of the enemy are kicks and crazy speed. The main hero was unable to think about the attack and spent the entire hour in a state of confusion. In the hour of Raymond's final kick, Sven grinned and tried to change the distance. He thought that perhaps the enemy's hands were not that strong. However, the leader of the cannibals, Mitya, struck with a knee. Toddy Raymond rushed to the main character to deliver the greatest blow. And at that moment he shot Aaron and handed him over to the wretch. The wounded cannibal became very angry. And then, having decided to shoot with a sniper first, so that you don't respect the main herb, like Sven. Due to the upcoming shootings, the wretch Mitya reached the sniper's spot. And at this moment, Aaron noted that the energy of Gwinta's nuclei would run out. Unwillingly, Raymond gave a strong blow, and within just a few seconds we were on our way. Aaron couldn't believe his eyes. She tried to shield herself from the cannibal's attack with a screw gun, but it fell apart. Then the boy eagerly took out his crossbow and began shooting at the killer. However, Raymond has the right to wince from the skin and arrows. That bastard got as close as possible to the boy. Aaron Viken has shot another man. This time, the leader of the cannibals of Zoom catches the arrow right in front of him. Todivin Mityu licked the young man's back. And now Aaron is lying down. The boy couldn't do anything except scream. Alatisi was a welcome sound for Raymond. He did not rush to beat in the cotton. Cannibal wants to hear Aaron scream until he is there. That guy didn't have a trial. At the last moment, the main hero appeared. You have found out the reshta of the bandi, if you went up to the gatherings in the villages. Now Raymond has lost himself. She didn't get embarrassed, but was ready for a delicious supper, having let go of the boy and focusing on a strong opponent. Then Aaron rushed at him from behind. Eunuch stabbed the bastard in the neck with a knife. Sven Mitt reacted and rushed to the attack. With one blow, the head hero spared the cannibal's legs. Raymond is crazy. Vin having wasted his main strength. Todi Sven felt the voice in his head again. He ordered the killing of the metahuman, and once again the main hero did not give up. With one blow of his sword, Sven ended the killer cannibal. Immediately after this, the hero felt a strong pulsation in his body and became restless. When Svidamo turned around, the boy was already at the car. Aaron is quite popular. Eunuch became very angry when Sven became uneasy. I myself pulled the main character into the car. And while he was asleep, Aaron collected all the speeches that the killers stole from Mokdong. Having a weak look, you are filled with energy. Having completed the collection of speeches and words for Kermo, the mood will be monstrous. The heroes went to Mokdong. Then suddenly an alarm signal appeared in the sky. The red color informs about the insecurity of the high country. This is a signal to the corner of Mokdong and Aaron, who knows him very well. Just a few years ago, Reina was informed that the animals were collapsing along the daily route. Looking at the binoculars, the woman realized that all the stinks were going away. And this is even worse. Reina lowered her gaze and froze in place. The one she saw looked like the demon who caused the apocalypse. With just one wave of the wing, he was able to sweep away an entire army of people. Everyone who survived the appearance of Belkist will never forget anyone. And now, after many fates, I have reappeared. Aaron pressed on the gas as hard as he could to quickly reach Mokdong. He knew that the red color was a signal to talk about the appearance of a demonic beast from the S level, and I want every person not to get in trouble with him. But without losing hope, I want to get in trouble with anyone. Natimus Sven Misliv more firmly. We understand that the signal was released so that everyone who could would run away without looking back. The lead hero tried to convince the young man to turn the car around but didn't hear it. When Sven tried to drive the car himself, a bunch of demonic beasts rushed at them from the side. There were so many liquids that the stench covered the car. Sven has lost his temper again. But if the Yishov came, there would be no Arana. The main hero is wise, so the young man still pushes to the corner of Mokdong. Todi Sven threw the car on wheels and asked Aaron for a test. Vyzhyvanya is the most important thing in the desert. So the main hero went to Zone 17 to tell about everything. But without driving even a kilometer, the images of the inhabitants of Mokdong began to appear in doubt. It's a pity that Sven and Vin's heart burned. Despite the instinct of self-preservation, they still went to the corner. By the time Aaron had already reached the goal. And there you found a greedy picture. Everyone he knew was already dead. Our leader, Reyna, died before her eyes. Aaron could not shed tears. At that moment, Belkist approached. Yunak cursed at the place out of fear. The demon got sick of the cotton, having won nothing. Todi was preparing for the attack. At that moment, a clicking sound was made. Belkist reacted. And if a portal appears in the sky, I'll fly there. Aaron is left alive. However, I didn't feel great happiness. Now he is alone. Yunak continued his jokes, wishing for someone alive, but there were only corpses nearby. Nadia left Yogo. That's why I continued to chew Minnie's jokes. Wrapped him. Aaron noted that he wanted to throw everything out of the refrigerator. I understand that this is not just like that. Yunak hurried to open the doors, having good thoughts that Minnie would be alive there. And so it happened. The girl got incredibly happy, shook her friend, and rushed towards him. Now both of us need to find a new corner. And the stench was not going away. And already at the exit from the parking lot, the main hero checked for the children. It will be very easy for you to bring Aaron and Men alive. Those two who managed to survive a monster at the level of a catastrophe was simply amazing. Aaron Rospov, who studied Belkist. However, he wound up and then met at the portal. Sven guessed that the same situation was happening and he was having trouble with the Black Mantis. But after thinking, I just ran away. Realizing that the children had nowhere to go, Sven decided to go with him to Nod. Now he is going to select his team. And the hero plans to ask for the children to come with him. Aaron could not shed tears. The best thing to do is not to succumb. Dear, the main hero of the Trishka learned about Zone 17, which is due. Almeni's energy conversion station clicked more as the heroes passed by. And the information about the things that can be converted into energy has left them speechless. Worried about the need, Sven decided to satisfy the girl's sweetness and stopped at the station. Minnie did not remember her burial. The girl touched one of the energy blocks and read information about the mechanism of action. This is how magic technologies works. Sven is glad that the people are now with him. The main character confirmed that the territory of the station was abandoned after it turned into ruins. Raptum Sven's conversation interrupted Aaron. He spotted a deer in the middle of the tall grass. Getting ready to catch the creature, the boy loaded his crossbow. However, the arrow did not hit. Aaron is just crazy about the shock. Then Sven took a shower on himself and ran towards the deer. With the rapidity of flash, the lead hero caught up with the creature. And already within a decade, Kvilin had brought the treasure on his shoulders. Sven's crazy swagger didn't lose his respect. Aaron recognized the name of the killer cannibal Raymond. Sven, having denounced the lad, guessed about it. He asked Aaron not to make a fuss about his drive and asked him to explain everything when necessary. Also, the main hero of the will be deprived of his time in the dungeon. At that moment, when the quickness memory was activated, Sven realized what the essence of his greatness was. It is intended to obscure the memories of other metahumans. Mina brought out the hero's thoughts as she hooted from the burials, turning on the windmills. The girl Mitya read the information from them, and those that Mina was able to see are simply miraculous. The girl, like a sponge, absorbs new information from herself. And after that, she came up with a brilliant idea to improve the energy output. And then Mine wanted to meet with people who are responsible for wind installations. Sven didn't even feel it. The recent heroes reached the active Zone 17. That would be a great football stadium. I'll let Sven go to the reception. Jamie's secretary was very happy, saying that the main hero was alive. I immediately told manager Kim Bus about it. Branch 17 already knew about the death of Changsu and Xianghu in Injung, and also about those who 2 kilometers from the city were found to kill the evil. From just a few bruised fingers, no one was hurt. The main character guessed what Mari was working on him from the investigation and development of Kwangman. When Sven started to sweat while turning around the Noda zone, everyone already thought that he had died. Ignoring this, the main character asked Jamie to go alone with Rose. Todi informed that Mokdon's butt had been destroyed. Such situations are not uncommon in the desert, but Jamie was not surprised. but when she sensed that Belkist had appeared there, she swore to the place out of fear. This demon did not show up at the Korean port since the moment of global trouble. Sven decided to change the information about what happened. We believe that Belkist has found all the inhabitants of the Mokdan slum, as well as a group of people killed. The hero also assumes that the demon monitors people's body temperature. Aaron and many managed to see only what they hid in the refrigerator. Information of this kind is even more important because Sven wants to take away the wine city for it. Jamie gave the hero 40 cores. It was a good price, but Sven needed more. Vin asked the secretary to find a metahuman on his team. I just realized that I had awakened. Jamie was dumbfounded. The shortest year of Zone 17 is now becoming a metahuman. Moreover, she is approximately 15th rank, and already middle class among people with wealth. Sven also decided to take children into his team. Aran is such a great guy. You can use your melee skills and become a guide. I am by my nature a magical technologist, and he will prepare artifacts for the team of the main character. The branch manager arrived shortly after. We are very happy about the fact that Sven will find himself awakened. That main hero asked for Tremacia from the prison. Bus didn't understand this. Even at the head office, Nod's relationship with metahumans is much better. Sven explained that his hero is not Nod, but the manager of the 17th zone. Besides, the fact that Minnie is a magical technician cannot be stressed enough. Otherwise, the head office will take the node to itself for the development of artifacts of the attacking type. I bus CE good Rosamiv. Tody Sven asked that his team take away the mystery, and if you want, you will have the task of killing. The hero's desire to piss on people made the branch manager a bit hungry. However, Sven is for the same reason. And now he asked Jamie to take all the people from Noda. Secretary Mityu Vikanal is a hero's bastard. No one understands why it's all this, and Sven doesn't explain anything. Vin simply wants to know the metahuman on his team. Taking each one by the hand, Sven was confident that he knew who he needed. The ore-haired Yusin has arrived. The girl expressed her dissatisfaction to the fullest extent of her stupidity. So when Sven took her by the hand, both saw the skylight in the middle. Yusin was drilled and Mitya shook her hand. And the main hero is aware that she is a metahuman. Abi had the rest of his time with her. Sven asked the girl to give her hand again. And even though Yusin was strangely alerted, there was the wicked one. This is when Sven felt that same voice in his head. Having thrown it up, the boy continued to signal Yusin. It dragged on for a while, and the girl thought that Sven was making such a face. I really appreciated Jamie's story. However, the main character was completely different. She immediately asked Yusin to peck at the demonic beasts, and the girl retorted. Without understanding anything, Sven once again got out of bed in the dying hour and asked everyone to leave. Yusin didn't get it out of her mouth without leaving an explanation for everything. Vaughn began to press on the main character. Tody Sven guessed that such ignorance is similar to the member of Nodu for his inheritance, and only those who know their place live in the desert. Sven doesn't understand why people allow themselves to behave like this, and Jamie explained that the stench made Kang Hansu happy. And although he was kicked out of Noda, the branch manager showed mercy. And Yusin is Hansu's wife. The girls around him reacted to the hero's respect. One of the men attacked Sven and threw him behind the barges, and then an arrow struck his hand. Searan shot from the Dahu. No one knew that the children were watching over everything. The handling of the situation made Yusin angry. The men rushed forward to reach the children, but Aaron fired an offensive arrow. I was there with the Corps. The bastards fell to their knees, screaming at the boogeyman. That was a false arrow. Having become even more angry, Yusin punished Distati Aaron. Then Minnie joined the group. The girl took out a bazooka. Once she had vowed to take revenge, Yusin decided to step up. Jamie informed the branch manager about all this. The man praised Sven's attempt to find a person in the team of such rank. It seems that metahumans sense each other. The secretary was only misleading about those that Yusin had asked for. This girl does not take part in battles against demonic beasts. I'll manage her Yi without judgment. And admitting that Yusin simply has not yet discovered her talent, but she is attracting her incredible talents. But it's not a smut. Bus wants to help Sven, and he wants to use his powers. Tim, the main character, went to training with his children at the same time. Just once again asking Mina to better expand the radius of the bazooka, otherwise you will also lose it. While Sven handed out the instructions, Aaron noted that they wanted to get closer. From now on, no one knows about the place, except for Jamie and Busa. Sven is familiar with all the local miscreants. Therefore, when three strangers approached, the hero became wary, and it was not Hansu's people who threatened to take revenge on the children. The main character asked strangers to stop and introduce themselves. One of them, Jackie, said that he couldn't work in the middle of a secret mission. Tody added that the main character is similar to the little Nalyakan of Koshin. Aaron without Vitrima. He came forward and threatened to tear out his tongue for such words. Ale Tody Jackie, sharply approaching the cotton. Having noted the tips made from nuclei from Aaron, the man discovered his burial. If you want to hit the spoils, but cotton meets you distas nij, And please don't bother. Shaking, Jackie entered. Everything looked very wonderful, even though Sven knew well that Aaron himself had some care. The main character, without noticing if he was healthy, pulled out his sword from this team. Just as the girls began to reprimand Jackie for her behavior, Sven admitted that she was the leader. And then the same coach knew that the manager of the 17th zone had sent them. Sven buv prigolomsheni. And even more excitement came when it turned out that the unknowns had recruited the team of the 17th zone. Jackie is a leader. The girl's name is Kwan Senna. And the big guy is Kim Han. This is the Code Blue command. As soon as Sven introduced himself, he called his team Pojirach. Everyone deserved this name. And Sina and Khan decided to take a look at the name that Jack came up with. They didn't like Code Blue. They started burning. The Stinks only recently realized that this word has more medical significance. And they didn't waste their time trying to imitate their leader. But Mitya began to kick ass when Jackie threatened his comrades not to bring any special insults from the place anymore. Sven called the command Eater to the fact that this word best characterizes his memory. In advance, the main character told the manager about it. And I reacted this way, knowing that Sven would take care of the name. Then Bus came up with a thought about those who are unlikely to be able to find a free thinker near Zone 17. And he said loudly that in a month the Buchen lintel would be destroyed. And there will be a Telenovit metahuman there. Sven doesn't understand why Bus would say that. Otherwise, he knows the future. And I already thought that the manager was on a second-rate basis. However, the man blocked. In the end, Bus asked Sven for more strength to grow. It also sounded wonderful. If the boy decided to trust the manager. Jackie knew that his team had arrived to train the newcomers. Kim Bus himself spoke about this feasibility. Since Sven and his children did not show the best result for the day, the Code Blue team simply failed them. The main hero has waited a while. Everyone was getting ready. Aaron threw the rotting flesh of the demonic beast onto the ground. The strange smell muted Jack's command to leave. The Stinkers still didn't know what the main hero was up to. But they were already embarrassed that Sven called out the monster in such a manner. A giant worm arrived at the smell. There are two ways to attack this beast. It crushes the victim, disappearing from the ground, or attacks the animal before it sinks into the ground again. It's easier to find a monster if it's on the surface, and for whom it is necessary to cut it straight. Sven Vikon made the first blow with his sword, and the zooms will only deprive the superficial wound. Toady Aaron fired from a crossbow. I suffered right at the same wound. The arrow and the cannonball swelled and destroyed it. The Code Blue team appreciated the effectiveness of the strategy. They only respected that with such fragmented wounded people they only hoped to irritate the beasts. The lead hero and Aaron survived the attacks. Raptum Sven noticed that the worm was about to sink into the ground. A Let's Go could not be allowed. So Minnie began her work. She took out a pistol and shot at the beast. Get the girls in. Aaron also became a Vikon. So when we see the Vibuka open, Sven discovers that the beast has finally allowed to flow in. Only then did the hero know that he would turn around. Giant worms are even more aggressive, and in tune the monster is preparing for a counterattack. Within just a few seconds, the main character felt a vibration near the ground and was approaching. The worm crashed to its limits. But at the last moment, he turned and headed straight to Mina. The girl cursed at the place. But fortunately, Aaron began to lie. If the worm wins, then his mouth instead of the victim is knocked out. I activated it. The monster's head flew into pieces. At this moment, Sven attacked the monster again. Vin placed the sword at the beast and decided to finish off the rest of it. Sensing the danger, Jack ordered the hero to let go of the sword. All that without listening. The worm began to crumble to the ground again. I pulled Sven along with me at once. These were the remains of the beast, the fragments of which were sufficiently injured. Prot. Until the moment of death, you can tighten the main character quite deeply. And in such a middle course, Sven died earlier, lower heart. And the boy concentrated all his strength. Potent energy filled the body and Sven Vikon's face. Tim and Jack Mitt rushed to help the hero. We understand that no one is to blame for what happened, but he didn't even begin to grumble. All the wise men began to dig the earth, succumbing to Sven's dissatisfaction. Then immediately Mina noticed that she was nearby. A hand appeared from under the ground. Jackie Mitty pulled out the main character. Luckily, I'm in order. There, under the ground, Sven's mind was activated as if unknown to him. And Yakbi no way, the boy died be. And in just one turn, she snatched away the good Stusan from the Senya. The girl took revenge for those who made Sven laugh at himself. However, the mood of the Mislevites changed when the boy showed the core of the worm. Vinsumi viogo di stati. Even if Jack didn't realize it, he had to risk it for a rank 13 monster. Aaron is on Sven's side. We know well the needs of expensive kernels. Then Jackie guessed about the marvelous artifacts of his team. It became interesting that the stars took up the objects. And then I learned that I was a magical technologist. Chim shocked the members of the Code Blue team. People with such memories are extremely rare. The Mislivtsi decided not to share all this information, since the head office of Noda could not be deprived of Minya. Toady introduced himself as Aaron. Jackie practically didn't show any signs of anger. The leader was more fond of Sven's memory. You notice that the boy has a personality similar to that of Volodya Changsu. However, there is one more thing, strengthening the lower part of the body, which was what Raymond needed to kill. People can burn out for a few years, but they will always be similar due to their nature. That memory of the main character is completely remarkable, one after another. Sven doesn't know how to explain this. Allah didn't have a chance. The Mislivians again felt a vibration in the ground. Another giant worm is approaching. How many times will the Code Blue team get to fight with him? When the source emerged from below the earth, everyone realized that there was much more ahead. Jackie and Khan were preparing for the battle. Senya's sideliness spoke of those who are not the fighting type. Tim and our Jackie activating his mind. With a wave of the sword, he used the technique Sword of the Monthly State. The burning energy dissected the worm in 1 minute. Sven and the children were simply caught in the act by an enemy species. The main hero realized that this power did not come from the core mounted in the sword, but from a meta-human. And this is similar to the power that Sven awakened under the earth. Although Jackie's attack was strong enough, it was not enough to kill the beast. The worm was about to run away. Altodi Khan and Jax built swords on both sides of the worm. It was quite difficult to touch the monster, but the Mislivsi decided to damage the dry zone around the core. After this, Jackie was preparing to strike a major blow. He again concentrated his energy, and then he used the Vibukov sword technique. The powerful energy flowed from the worm in a rapid stream and tore it into pieces. It was simply amazing. Sven did not stream his hoarding. Then with a worm, the worm has toppled the green countryside. Jackie, who stood nearby, lost his anger. In the country there were worm parasites, and the stench was actively attacking the man. Sven and Aaron rushed to help. The main character couldn't believe that such a high-class guy would even bother with the newcomer. Everyone knows that to defeat a giant worm, it is also necessary to defeat its parasites. There was even more relief when Sven realized that Jack's comrades were not going to help. The team leader extended his blessings to help Sen. That girl was in no hurry either. As soon as Jackie had had enough of her share of special grievances, Sina was ready to help. The girl gave up and activated her mind. In just a few seconds, this energy defeated the leader of the group. The revelation of a kind of mischievous spirit in the desert shocked the entire team of the protagonist. Before that, the Sen is ready to consolidate its properties on the rise. Now Sven will explain. And it turned out that this whole situation was planned for a demonstration in the name of the team. There was no storm between Aaron. Mina did not understand the burial of the Sen. And the main character wants to know how Jackie launches his incredible attacks. The leader of the Code Blue team understands that Sven knows nothing about the energy of the core. And then this is a long journey of mentoring. Jackie learned that the Eater team deserves the right to sleep. Now the time has come for Trenovan. Khan took charge of Aaron. He himself specializes in close combat. Within the first few seconds, the boy realized that this was not going to be easy. It was Jack and Senna who explained the basics for Sven. It turns out that the memories that fall into 6 categories are the internal figures of a person. Human skin contains core energy and it changes with unique characteristics. Once these 2 components are properly energized, you can learn to extract the pure energy of the core. The very same thing was done by Jackie when he used the Sword of the Monthly Sword and Vibukov sword techniques. You have collected the energy of the pure core from the beast and also from the vigilante. The rice also contributes to the growth of the energy of the core. If you understand how to vaporize them, you can significantly increase the amount of moisture energy. And the fragments of Sven can absorb people's memories, and then they can combine their energy. And then it's important to speed up your growth. After presenting the theory, Jackie asked Sven to forcefully hit the car. The boy concentrated and launched a blow. There was a deep dent on the car. However, these were not the same ones that Jackie had insured for. Sina took it upon herself to explain. In the controllable energy, the Vaughn is incomplete. The girl ran her fingers along the hero's hand and explained that this is how energy collapses. It is necessary to notice this flow. Toadie tried to concentrate her strength on her fingertips, thinking about the wig like a goldfinch. Sven tried it out, but if he clicked his fingers, it worked. The energy, however, flew past Jackie and deprived the fight in the car. The Mislivians did not believe their powerful eyes. For the first time, Sven managed to show incredible results. Jackie realizes that the main character has great potential, and he pleased the lad to go to Nosa's head office to get started. Although Jackie himself and the branch manager don't care about them, the basic principles there are miracles. Sven continued his training until the evening, and finally used the Sword of the Monthly Sword technique, and then Vikanov and Vibukov's sword. Turning home, the lead hero noticed that Arana was silent. Mina also praised her friend, and there are quite a few nasty things about her. After training with the Code Blue team, Aaron became completely different from himself. Sven let out a compliment, and then wrote a note on the door of the room. Arana was stolen and dragged from the field. That same Kanhansu plans to take revenge on Sven for the image of his wife Yusin. The main character immediately followed the address indicated in the note. Jamie's secretary helped him find the right place. If Sven is at the reception, then he will treat the tied and beaten Aaron. Behind him sits Kang Han-soo and another dozen muscular men. Sven asked to let the child go. Now the head bastard just came close and hit him too hard. Toady Aaron shouted so that the main character would not be touched. Al also rejected a strong blow from Hansu. Sven's anger ignited. That same voice sounded in his head. You will prompt Sven to show his worth and put the villain in his place. The main hero gave in. When Han swung his fist to hit him again, Sven punched his fist. There was no peace between those present, after which the main hero politely asked to let the child go. At the same time, he clenched the scoundrel's fist ever more tightly. Having sensed the bitterness of Hans, he did not compromise. The main character got away from the situation and finished with it. Taraptom, Jogostovknuf Aran. Klopchin asked Sven not to be timid. Having exhausted his fierceness, the leading hero obeyed. He let go of the enemy's hand but immediately repelled the blow to his face. Toady Sven asked for a shakedown. Hans was ahead of him so that the lad would no longer raise his head and let go of the guard. The wicked man's followers did not understand what was on the right. The stench was loud enough to kill the main character, so Hans quickly kneaded his ears and closed them. Having realized that if Aaron had not bothered, his hand would have already been severed. As a young man, Hans retained his authority. Tim an hour on the way to the office, Sven nodded to Arana for those who had missed him. As if the main hero had worked out what he had thought up, he could no longer marvel at his manager. Ta'aran began to respect that he simply won his job. After training with Code Blue, the boy became wiser in his place. From Sven's command, one is not a metahuman, and then the boy tries with all his might to stop the work of the god, so that he can do good and not become ballast. For this same reason, we are guilty of going around collecting information. So hatefully, they entered the territory of Hansu and lost the Kalepu. At this point, Aaron successfully took over the rank order of Nod. The skin of a meta-human of this organization is brutally surprised at ordinary people. Sven, who knew no one, even though he himself had recently become an extraordinary person. And at this moment, the hero realized Jackie's guard. No one from Nod could be trusted. Turning to the office, Sven found neither Bus nor Jamie there. I'm looking at Aaron's beaten-down look. And the respect of the main character was restored by Miss Levets Khan from Code Blue. The man informed about the Shalepa and asked for help. It turns out that Jackie was attacked. While the leader of the Code Blue team has the highest rank, he was attacked. Recently, a team from the 17th Zone was recruited to take over the Polyvanya Novbivits plant. Sven guessed that a few days ago the branch manager had told him about his job. So if the boy has carefully completed the description, he will realize that there is very little information there. The commander of the attacking corral of the 14th Zone, Maiden, fought against his underlings, as if they were causing insurrection, and perished. However, the reasons for the stabbing were not specified by the organizers. Before that, in this battle, you will have to fight against 3 metahumans, who are also unknown. With a reassuring smile, Sven looked like a victor. But Bus realized such a decision. Chasing after evidence, risking life is not reasonable. Moreover, the manager himself respected this wonderful task. Nyomu had so many dark spots. However, just a few days ago, the Code Blue team took over. I immediately went to school. Jackie knew the commander of Maiden, who was killed. I respected him as a kind and accomplished person. The two of them visited the Noda training center at the same time and got to know each other. And then Maiden became part of the attacking corral of the 14th Zone. If the Code Blue team fails the mission, then the headquarters learns about the hidden forces. And then the ruler of the region will be accused by the government. Having arrived at the designated location on the right-hand side, the Mislivians took a position to be on guard. For several days, the killers did not show their dreams. However, the team still managed to wait for one of them to appear. It took a lot of effort to catch the bastard. Jack tied the beater to the stilts and decided to top it up. Khan chatted at the entrance. The killer who has appeared will not be forgiven at all. You won't be able to get any input from the power supply. Natimus learned that Code Blue is required until the 17th Zone. While Jackie was asking for food, the villain was activating his potential for psychopathy. In this way, he took control of the team leader. Sina noted what had happened, but did not understand what happened herself. Khan also felt unsafe and tried to get ahead of the girl. However, it was late. Jack turned to Senya and stabbed her with a knife. At that moment, the leader's eyes looked marvelous and showed violet light. They had no life. With a forceful blow, Khan threw Jackie out of the way of the healer. Senamichu activated its properties to heal the wound. The same leader of the team turned around and attacked Khan. The man blocked Jack's blow. Khan tried to verbally reach out to his comrade, but he didn't turn around. The real battle began. Khan, not afraid of anyone, does not give up any scraps from the technician to the battle leader. Prot, from the very first days of his life, realized that Jackie's hands are ideal. Khan did not think of inflicting a brutal blow on his hypnotized comrade, and when he tried to kick, the leader buried Khan. and then throwing him out of his place, breaking through the wall. Jackie was about to leave his comrade, but at that moment Sina stopped him. Vaughn blessed the leader to come to you. That tiredness, he swung his sword to wake up the girl. At the last moment, the wicked hypnotist spoke to Jackie. And besides, healing efforts are extremely rare. They wanted to take the hay with them. In an hour of battle, the evil spirits turn into motorcycles. I don't want to leave Khan, but I have no thoughts at this point. Having heard the story, Aaron expressed his disappointment at what Khan had done in such a way. That Sven explained that it was the right decision. Leodina, as the Code Blue team put it, has psychopathic qualities. These people are called dolly drivers. The stench of the building can penetrate the mind of the target and cover it. As a great year, Sven could not give up the whole team to the carelessness of his comrade. It was impossible to deprive Jackie insane of life. The branch manager trusted Sven, and the main hero decided to lie to his comrades. The Ministry of Minnie and Aaron prepares the necessary equipment and plans the route. Zone 17 has already practically lost a team of strong Myslifs to a friend, but there is no longer a crisis for the region. The team Pozerash and Khan is Code Blue were on the lookout for their comrades. In the wooden box, Aaron was carrying a rank 20 demonic monster, and Sven remembered his training from Jackie. You have not been able to achieve success with the Viconian technique, Sword of the Monthly State, for a long time. All the energy dissipated without ever reaching the goal. Alatori Jackie learned about verbal commands. I demonstrated the technique again. It turns out that in order to fight against a high-ranked demonic beast, you need to develop a rock core. The trace is placed before the new one, as before the continuation of the body. However, it is practically impossible to work in an emergency situation, and then a verbal command will come to help. As a result, her attack power increases significantly. Sven doesn't have to believe that what he's doing is true, but he wants to try. Having called out the name of the technique, the lead hero launched an attack. And when did it happen? The shock was incredibly strong. This is true. Sven felt a deep connection to Jackie. Over the past decade, the leader of the world has learned a lot about the main character. And now the lad is more than willing to turn Jackie. And even Sven needs wine for development. The team arrived at the place. Khan saw his comrades there, rebelling against Jackie and Sen. However, the place was empty. As it turned out, the doll driver changed his location. Apart from a small drop of blood, there were no traces. The time has come for the destruction of the demonic beast that Aaron brought. The boy let the dark mouse smell the excess blood, and she took up the trail. It turns out that these animals are often vicarized for stimulation. And then Sven and Khan followed the dark bear. Minnie and Aaron walked behind. Find a demonic beast running from one location. Sven and Khan noticed that it was very quiet there. So if the Myslivites penetrated into the middle, they attacked the people on the right. Everyone who was in that room is dead. The bodies of the dead had a slightly greedy look, and Khan thought that they had been attacked by demonic beasts. However, Sven knew exactly what kind of robot people are. And high-ranking priests danced here. The stinks were strong and without any doubt. Having looked at the bodies, Khan realized that these were the people described by the commander. However, there is no liar guide among them. Khan also confirmed that the branch manager tried to find a blonde named Lexi. And fortunately, among the dead, there was no one like her. Sven no longer understands what is going on here. Having identified Arana with Mina, the team decided to verify all suspicions of the place on the outskirts. And one of these was the metro. Identify such places as being filled with demonic beasts, so there are human traces when entering. Khan was already ready to attack his comrades in the middle, but Aran Yogo Zupinif. Without the necessary information about the number of enemies, these decisions will be extremely unreasonable. Sven watched the lad's thought. I having placed the Lyarkov driver's Vimanity, and you will be able to earn money at the mini outlet. The girl happily fired the cannonball bazooka. If the projectile did not reach the required depth, the bulges would lure the enemy away. Only Mina had no doubt that enough enemies would be given up. She shot so hard that the projectile exploded into countless small projectiles only after her command. The little girl died, and within a few seconds of speaking, she said that Vibuhi is a mysticism. Sven let go, which is the verbal command of Mina. After the blow, the main hero and Khan ran to the entrance of the metro. As soon as the trees began to blossom, the Myslivians marked the Lyarkovad. The bastard Mitya froze his mind and aimed at Sven. Khan immediately got ahead, so that the lead hero would not be surprised at the enemy in front of his eyes. Sven struck with his sword at the face. With this rank, the name of the dolly driver was extinguished, so the main character has a nerve in his nose, and it would be impossible for him to escape. The wounded man was deprived of his children. Sven allowed himself to be dealt with by the dolly driver, as it was a wonderful morning, and he himself went with Khan to search for his friends near the metro. However, there below, an unpleasant surprise awaited them. The guards were in the hands of an invisible team of metahumans. There were 4 of them, 2 women and 2 men. Before that, the oar-haired girl recognized guide Sven from the 17th zone. Sebula Yusin is the wife of Kang Hansu. However, through the suit and eyepieces, the main hero did not recognize her. Analyzing the situation, Sven realized that it was risky to start the battle, and he will only be deprived of one way out. The boy grabbed the sword, introduced himself, and made a compromise. He wants to turn his comrades around and is ready to deprive all the reach of the unknown team. They respected everything so much. If the hero tries to figure out which zone the command is supposed to go to, then he will reject an overly aggressive reaction. Obviously, these people know much more. The situation has come to a head. Sven tried to think of a way to get out of the situation without a beanie. At that moment, Jackie appeared from the depths of the metro. I'm in a difficult situation. Leaning on his sword, the man tried to let Sane go. This only angered the team of strangers. Xianghua took over the job of tidying up the carefree Jackie. Vona put her sword to the neck of the leader of the Code Blue team. And then Khan did not lose sight and began his work. Vin rushed to attack one of the mislivs named Kevin. The situation was taking on the worst of possible scenarios. Sven realized that there was no way back, and he gave the command to the children to do. Aaron and many began to shoot. Rudavalosa Yusin and the leader of the unknown team Burke would put up nuclear shields or be destroyed. And while we were growing up, Sven went straight to the leader of the group. However, the goal was not achieved. Yusin threw a noose from a motorcycle around the hero's leg and kindly threw it against the wall. After getting excited, Sven tried to use the Sword of the Monthly Sword technique, but it didn't work out. Yusin snatched the sword from the hands of the hero of the same Motuzi. At this moment, the children reacted. The stinks began to stagnate in the heat. Yusin and the leader of the invisible team, Burke, fought behind nuclear shields. Sven has a chance and gets closer to the man again. Al jumped up at the moment of the blow, and then he threw the unpleasant sen at the hero's hand. Sven's invitations led him to catch the girl, and immediately after that he pulled back the blow with his fist from Burke. Now the lead hero has stumbled under the gun of the leader of an unknown team. But the children immediately got involved again. Minnie established her technique. Vibuhi is a mysticism. Quickly ahead of time, Sven managed to activate the nuclear shield and take cover from the Senoi at once. Vibuk mav nadzvyczajnu silu. It was never easy for the members of the unknown command. The stinks of the ice have not died out. Now, if the eyepieces flew away from the guise of Yusin, Sven is aware, debachiv yi. At the request of the metahuman, the ore-haired girl made a gallus at her command. The children continued to shoot near the depths of the metro. And although there is a lot of sense in the fight against the influence of strong misslists, the saw stinks were picked up, and the main hero took this chance and began to tick away. We were confident that everything would work out, but it was no longer so easy to run with the Sanaya on our backs. Tackle Sven by catching up with Burke. With a strong kick, he stopped the pump and sent him back near the metro. And then I got to the children. Xianghua has been guarding Jackie until now. Khan streamed Kevin's swords, and Sven is now lying nearby. Having noticed the sword of the leader of the Code Blue team, the main character had an idea. He had saved himself and was preparing to use the Sword of the Monthly Sword technique. Toda Yusin said that Sven is about to quit, and I thought of a lot of words about those who want to know their place for living in the desert. The main character calmed down and threw down his guard. Khan was also confused. At this moment, the leader of the unknown team turned around with ugly children in his arms. The position of the main character was truly deplorable. Jack B. Burke wanted to, then long ago killed all the self-extinguishers. That's why you want to introduce yourself. It turns out that an unknown team is at Nodu's headquarters. Sven and Khan were dumbfounded. It turns out that all these people are scammers. Theirs is a treasure, read Vitaly Noda. The skin branch is required to register and provide information about its metahumans to the main headquarters. In the 14th and 17th zones, a violation of the rules was recorded, and itself the formation of hidden forces. That is why the ghost team was sent here. After the explanation, Burke ordered Yusin to save Sven. The main character only asked that the children be allowed in. This was impossible until the headquarters made a decision for them. Sinking in the dark, Yusin, the main character, guessed Jackie's words. Having chewed that one, you shouldn't trust Nod. This organization selects young metahumans from the desert and trains them. And after the completion of this process, the Stinks will be afraid to fight the demonic beasts. The medical forces of Nodu and the organization are determined to capture all the monsters in the desert. However, don't be afraid of the stench, but even respect that careless minds can accommodate awakening. But at this rate, it's unlikely that the desert will run out of people with money, and all the essential people will simply perish. Sven was still very young when the world catastrophe spared his homeland. That one day in the middle of the deserted ruins of his famous branch manager, Kim Bus. You then decided what to earn in a short period of time, and it is possible to send the stench at once to reach such heights as Nod never dreamed of. But now everything has taken a completely unexpected turn. Sven woke up the headquarter director Noda Rizikovi Lee, the main hero of all the connections. A strap made from a vibukal core was placed around the boy's neck. If Lee's kindness is expressed, Sven understands that his team will be threatened with death. Nod has completed clearing zones 14 and 17, and it turned out that the punishment for the evildoers was taken away from the one who shaped the dark forces. Sven is just a piece on a chessboard, and they recognized Kim Bus as the main guilty person. The leader of the Code Blue team is also a serious villain. Once Jackie had turned away from Noda, he was also clearly entering the formation against the headquarters. Just a few days ago, Nod let go of that little fool, Jackie, having spent his awakened power through those who had to wash out his smears for a long time. And in such a camp, you won't be able to live in the desert and pay for the evildoers. Rizikovi Lee was previously an instructor at a training center. That's why we go to the police, and having confirmed Sven will lose. However, the main character was convinced and he was released. Aaron and Khan were also released. Sen and Minnie were lost from the headquarters. Without sensing the threat from Sven, he maintains a low level. Ali Ivazav, show to grab butt now, and Noda will not be given in to anyone. The main character didn't dare to sit with his hands clasped. I immediately set a task for Aran Takan to find a person named Winter, and he himself went to the office of the 17th zone, but everything there was practically ruined. The lad has good thoughts so that the branch manager is left alive. Having escaped to Kim Bus's office, the main character saw a terrible picture. The manager of the 17th zone is lying on the sofa. Next to him was Jamie. Luckily, she was fine. Nod spared Busa endings. Sven doesn't want to accept it. We don't understand why the branch manager, knowing the future, allowed this to happen. Why did people hate the organization? And then Bus, having finished everything, explained everything to Sven. Vin asked Jamie to leave. And then I told you that we can't wait until the next day. All he knows is his memory. Humanity was already dying out. But after death, Bus's life began anew from the very beginning. Vin is a regressor and has the ability to remember the evidence of previous life. Sven remembered all those moments when the words of the branch manager seemed amazing to him. Then again, having taken note of the fact that we may be surprised at the future, we now understand why there is a difference. All he knows is what happened in his past life, and he didn't know how to convey the later awakening of the main character and the death of Chang-Su. However, after the demonic origins appeared, practically nothing changed. In his former life, Kim Bus worked at the administrative office of Kwangmun. In his opinion, the man quickly reached the high seat. Living in comfort, I believe that life in the place will be the same as it was before the light cataclysm. However, 5 years later, the extinction of humanity began. 3 S-rank creatures immediately appeared: Belkist, Malbus, and Seleos. And then Nod is not crazy about them. The organization was obliged to intervene immediately after these facts appeared. Prot, the struggle for power and the attempt to create the illusion of security led to a tragic ending. Toady died in Bus. Then I was born again. But the manager's memory lost important information, and along with them are the names of active Mislevites. Kim Bus was determined to fix the extinction of humanity. Never once have I trusted Nod. The man got together with Beatrice. Toady was still very young, but even more intelligent. Bus began to recruit people and thus created the 14th, 17th, and 19th zones. In this manner, we want to collect the 9 keys before building Nod. This is a team of metahumans capable of defeating S-rank demonic beasts, who plan to tell these people about the place where demonic beasts appeared. Then the stench would be small enough for an hour to overcome the demonic beasts through. The manager started to make peace. Nod caught him at the organization of the recruited team. Not long ago, Bus managed to find one of the keys, Lexi. You have trusted the developments of the 14th zone. Prot, in the middle of the recruited team, a scythe doll driver appeared. He manipulated metahumans and killed the commander of the attacking group. Toady took Lexi away from him. In this manner, all arrivals of the team were vigilant. And now on the way, Sven will have to self-tighten. You will be glad to change the number of demonic beasts before the final battle, once you have a chance to win. Sven doesn't understand why the branch director has such great hopes for him. That reason lay with the memory-consuming main character. It has endless potential, and in his past life, Sven himself caused the most harm to S-rank demonic beasts. Vin is the heart of the 9 keys. It's not for nothing that Ajay Kim Bus has been foolishly empty at the jokes of the main character. In shock, Sven tried to accept the manager's hopes, and now Bus asked the hero to take the bottom of his work table. The man wants Sven to take his memory. Once again, the guy can remove the information and fully unlock his potential. Only then will you be able to overcome the final battle. From this point on, Sven doesn't want to hurt anyone. We wondered what would be better if the branch manager tried again. Bus is no longer able to live the rest of his life. Then that same voice sounded near Sven's head. The boy tried his best to drive him away. And Bus is good so that the main hero releases him from the noose and is reborn, and the boy tried to overcome himself. The rest of his memory is filled with moments from his childhood. The manager is a special person in the hero's life. Therefore, Sven could not help but retire from being the boss of Kim Busa. Having asked for a blow, the boy struck. A surge of energy from the burnt-out time covered him. A steady stream of thoughts flew through my head. The stench came from the life of the branch manager and from the rich life of the hero. Everything was mixed together. Sven has lost his temper again. But if I wake up, I won't immediately realize what it is. Once the boy held Kim Bus's body in front of him, everything fell into place. All the troubles that the hero had rejected were just too painful. Now Sven realized what a difficult burden the branch manager had to live with all this time. Kim Bus was an extremely strong person. Now the main character became scared. You will no longer be the same person you were before. Raptum. Sven sensed the manager's voice. The man asked for punishment for those who hung everything on the hero's shoulders. However, in truth, it was not Bus's voice, but his screaming thoughts in the rest of his life. Bowing to the manager, Sven left the office of the 17th Zone. Now Jamie is pranking everywhere. But you know it's on the verge. The secretary was holding hands with Bandi Hansu. The bad guy encouraged the hero to join his team. Having thrown the fragments of Nod into the hands of Kim Bus for a terrible crime, Hans decided to search for Zone 17. And I appreciate what the trump card is. The bad guy grabbed Jackie and pushed him to the cross. He believed that Nod would be a convicted criminal. Al Sven simply laughed at the witness. Neither Jackie nor the branch manager is of any value to Nodu. The organization has already punished both. While all the Mycelists were stealing the 17th Zone, Hansu's gang was just making greedy speeches. The bad guy got angry at Sven's boastfulness and wanted to read him. But at this moment, the hero came to a conclusion and learned about another feature of his mind. In order to gain strength, I don't want to drive it too hard. Sven immediately activated his mind and grabbed Hans's hands. The lead hero began to scrutinize the enemy's memory. In a matter of 10 seconds, everything was over and Hans released Sven. He didn't understand what had happened, but wanted to take revenge for his unacceptable behavior. And the main hero was disappointed because he lost the boost to rank 15. I dissolved Hans' mitt by taking out his sword, lest I touch him with any senses. An even more absurd situation has arrived. The bad guy doesn't want to believe those who have wasted their strength and tried to raise their armor. Ale jogo miazi ledve vitrimuvali navantajenia. Todi Sven is done with this. He hit Hans and lost his money. The Rashta Mislevites rush to attack. At this moment, the main character decides to try one more thing of his own, hiding in the dark. The hero only had a few seconds to unite his internal energy as one whole. Sven concentrated, and a black aura disappeared around him. No one present had ever seen anything like this before. Then the hero activated the tentacles memory. The villains began to flow in from different sides. They were quickly removed and pierced by black teenagers. The whole thing was over, and Sven felt more exhausted. This time there is a lot of energy. At this moment, Hansu snapped. Navigating with the evil crack of his neck, he threatened the hero with reprisals. That one was not destined to die. Sven finished with the bastard. Only with this rank can the lad take back his money. The branch manager himself asked Sven about death. Jamie and the main character were greeted by Kim Busa and Jackie. Your secretary will then turn to work with the evacuees at the exchange center. And now the great mission is watching out for Sven. The first hero went to Gwangmun. Vin plans to meet with Senator Beatrice. It didn't turn out that simple. Sven was hesitant to show the map to Mary and follow up on the location. The girl came in handy to see off the hero. She said on the way that she sensed incredible strength in the boy. And before that, now there is a mix of several types of energy. It turns out that Mary's rank has increased, and she is now ready to help detect metahumans. However, the girl respected that humans cannot have many types of energy. Sven didn't care. To remove any residual evidence, Marie was about to take the hero by the hand. If the lad is ahead of you, why should he scream because he won't be worth it? Soon after, the heroes arrived at the senator's office. Beatrice kindly greeted the guest. Vona knew that Sven was coming and was waiting for him. Marie was amazed when the main character and the senator greeted someone they knew. For an hour, the girl left them. Beatrice immediately realized that Sven had already forgotten his role as a branch manager. She was gladly informed that he was already dead. The two of them were fed by a heavy meta. Sven stated that he plans to continue Bus's plan. Beatrice was positively impressed. She herself was most relieved. The role of the senator in the manager's plan is simple. You will continue to support the bar until it is necessary. So when the time comes, Beatrice comes to the keys without a carriage. Such a message controlled the main character. For what purpose did you come here? When Sven was getting ready to leave, the senator asked that he was going to work in the future. I told her that you would bring Winter, one of the keys, to Nodu's headquarters. Beatrice was drilled, but it didn't at all suit Kim Bus's plan. The main character is only going to take over the infrastructure of the organization. Vin will form a team to defeat the demonic beasts. Sven is ready to spend everything to get the entire node resource. Before his death, Bus said that standing against the organization is not the best way out. So the main hero made such a decision. Along the way, the boy told the senator not to forget about the dream, since he wants to live to see day X. In the evening, Sven and Khan sat in the dark and looked at Aaron. The great misleader of the Code Blue team didn't know what to do next. Your friend Jackie and the branch manager are dead. Sven analyzed the remaining steps. The doctors have told us about the current situation from the past, but will continue to act fairly. And then it's also not good to trust this organization at all. Shouldn't it be the responsibility of the Pozirak team to take advantage of the final battle? The main character told Khan that he might be in trouble with the branch manager. And yourself? Create an independent drive that can eliminate the demonic beasts. Todi Khan guessed how Jack praised Sven and said that he could fulfill Bus's hopes. So he asked the team of the main character. Even if Khan doesn't enter until the 9 keys, his support will not be taken. And Sven was good enough for that. At this moment, Aaron arrived, and it brought good news. The boy managed to find Winter's hospital, as Sven asked. Already in the morning, Aaron brought the team to the main entrance. There was a great murmur in front of him. It is designed to capture low-ranking monsters, but the strongest ones are not in danger. This place still sleeps in the desert only to that which is protected by one of the 9 springs of winter. Sven came closer to the fortification. You want to check the price of the socket. And immediately the arrow landed. It's been a while since then. The attacking arrow happened to be hit with a sword. After all, the main character has chosen the dates of the meeting. I, Aaron, will only produce radium. Sven never noticed at any moment this boy became very similar to Mina. Aaron prepared the onions. Then, the Misli people were hit by blind arrows. Khan immediately reacted and continued to beat the arrows with his swords. Sven drank some of Aaron's coffee. The boy loaded the bow and kissed one of the guards on the fortified area. As the main hero asked, Aaron worked hard to shoot the first bullets. Then the boy pulled out the arrow with a vibrator. I'm already sick of getting tired of it. And Sven agreed for his own sake that no one was harmed. The core swelled and the guards at the end of Exangle began to leak. On the right, it is fragmented. The team brought its strength. And now the Mislifsi made their way behind the fortifications without any problems. Madame Chung In-suk met them there. Vaughn realized that the guests were not easy, and she reprimanded him for being rude. They gave the main character's team a central performance. On the way, Sven noticed one peculiarity. The local people are a little starry-eyed. Hunger and fear are the primary goals of the deserted inhabitants, but here things are clearly different. Madame Chong quickly found a room for the Misliites and brought them some grub and local drinks. Todi Sven came to the rescue. Vin introduced the Misli team to Nod, and my goal is to find out who Gavel is. Madame Chan got really mad. It's no small thing that Nod knows about the girl. Everyone knows that skincare is important. Register with the organization. Alakim Gavul is the only metahuman at the corner of Exangle. And if Nod takes the girl, then everything will inevitably perish under the demonic beasts. Sven of the minds of Madame Chan and stretched her bag of kernels as a payment for information. The main character promised that he would not take Gavul against her will. And just then Madame Chan was in time to talk to the girl. The woman took the koshti, and Sven told him that she would not be at the factory. Having eaten a portion of the meal, the Mislivians decided to enjoy and try the frequent meal. The drink that Madame Chan brought was similar to wine. Alcohol is a delight for the place. And then Sven realized that something was wrong here. Vin Mitya knocked the glasses out of the hands of his comrades. They were treated to dog blood, more precisely the demonic beasts of Gargiv. The stench is similar to dogs. The drink is prepared by filtering and fermenting blood. It causes hallucinations similar to alcohol intoxication. If blood is left for a long time, it will accumulate in the body and lead to death. Now Sven realized why the people at the end of the table looked so bad. It was good for the hero to know the local people from here. In the evening, Sven found himself alone in the room, then rapped, perhaps knocking at the door. When the hero finished, the disenchanted Kim Gavel stood in front of him. Vona asked the main character to go outside. The girl was going to talk to him like a human. In the past, Gavel was Sven's comrade. She fearlessly fell upon demonic beasts and showed incredible strength in battle. However, at the moment, if the girl knew at any time the compliments were gratuitous, AJ won't turn around with empty hands. In the ensuing battle, scumbags have already gathered on the base. Just like that, Gavel was in the minds of the main character. From the one on the lower level, it looked more wild. Sven decided to talk immediately. Gavel did not consider this option. She just wanted the uninvited guests to come out of the corner, as Sven was recovering from the shock, and the girl had no doubt about who. Gavel rushed to attack, and the main character quickly responded to the vigilant energy, clicking his fingers, humming it. This trick was taught to him by Jackie and Sina, and he appeared even browner. Those present were hostile. Navigating Aaron is not so easy, but I will overcome the Swede. The next day, I guessed that the team would take Gavel and leave the corner. However, Sven was in no hurry. You decided to go on a whirlwind bath with the local mysteries. Aaron doesn't understand why he can't just take what he came for. And then Khan explained that if you create a stink like that, then everyone at the door will perish under the demonic beasts. Aaron unlocked the lock and left the room. I guessed what happened to Mukdong. Sven guessed right away. The main character knew well that this place would come to an end in a month. I was planning to take Gavel after what happened. At the beginning of the morning, a gathering of Mislivians was held to discuss watering. Mystery Year revealed that their opponents are mosquito-like demonic beasts. Her weakness is filth, and he ordered to create a local defense and burn the enemies that would invade their territory. Sven said that this is not correct, and having added that the killers themselves, with which the stench looms on the right, are sufficiently resistant to the fire. Likely, if the body is burning, the mosquito can fly by even before you get up. Before that, one such biola is rank 17, and most people are prevented from fighting against such beasts. Just one mosquito bite will be enough to kill a person without harm. And then Sven told him that only a few of them from Gavel would go to the field. Rashta groups began to get overwhelmed. Previously, they managed to cope without the help of Nod. It was so bad that the whole robot fell to Gavel. The girl knew this well, but she didn't care. And then she ordered everyone to disperse and agreed to the hero's proposition. Only Gavel began to respect that Sven takes away payment for love, and not her niceness. The main character didn't realize that the girl would be ready to go with him at Nod. Instead of paying, you want to cancel the information. Sven also realized that by grinding off the bjil you can make fresh alcohol. That girl there reacted quite wonderfully. Not long ago, the Myslivtsi arrived at Vulik. Nepomitno and Shvidko Stinks crept closer to him. At the entrance there were 2 bullet killers. And this means that you decide to sleep. Sven wants to test his knowledge in practice. He stopped using the Sword of the Monthly Sword technique and cut the Volk. Gavel Bula is enemy. The main character managed to earn tens of komas. If you were to make a big noise about the name of the technique, then you could destroy the whole thing. Rashta woke up and began to climb up. The Myslivtsi were preparing for battle. Gavel activated her mind. Sven began to snort at him. Its core has a golden color, and its energy takes on the shape of a levitation. This time, both the barrier Beatrice and the devouring personality of Sven defy the same classification. May enhance wild animals. Gavel started before the battle. In one fell swoop, the girl became poor. The same result was shown with the advancing Dekilkoma Komax. Her rank will definitely surpass the 10 mark. Having caught sight of his future comrade, Sven also began to fight. Let's take a look at the guesses and explanations of Jackie, the main character who easily found monsters. You are looking forward to trying tentacles again. The black energy of Midi has emerged in the form of teenagers, and then it pierced a dozen killers. Sven felt more sleepy again. This takes approximately 30 hundredths of energy from him. It's a long time ago, but the hero still has too little strength for his Vicaristan. And then Sven hesitated to swing his sword and suffer komas one by one. Then immediately, noticing that Gavel is in Kalepa, the girl's leg was pinched by a biola killer. Gavel wanted to rip out the sting, but Sven was ahead of her, so she would rip out her own skin. Her body began to swell and her leg began to paralyze. The main character quickly explained that it is necessary to cut the wound and remove the sting. Then tap into your internal energy to get rid of it. In this case, it is necessary to keep your mind in action for the whole hour. Gavel started working, and at this hour Sven was actively kidnapping her. We understand that training is even more important when talent is evident. The boy has enough knowledge about the administration of Gavel. And in advance of this, the development and knowledge of powerful forces is still on the way. Sven Rozumiev is so important not to allow the mosquito to reach the girl. And then by concentrating on the vitalized internal energy, the only thing that praised the hero was the appearance of the queen. How can you get you enough strength to fight the head monster? Sven started to think about it later, and at once having collected all my energy and vigor, the pain widened like a shock and all the komas began to sing. This process also took a lot of energy from the hero, and Gavel was caught in the act of being buried. She saw that the main hero was really cool. Sven checked the girl's figure. Vaughn coped miraculously with the updates. If you don't survive, you'll end up without a leg. Now the time has come to fight with the queen. This world has been destroyed by Gavel. If the hero manages to overcome it, then Exangol's corner will be helpless. Sven went to the streets to search. He boasted that there could only be soldiers next to the queen, but he had a loss of energy. To put this into perspective, the main hero generated an energy core and launched it in front of him. Bioli soldiers react to light guilt. However, no one showed up. And then, all the queen's henchmen are already destitute. Sven ran away ahead of time. Already for a decade, they praised the people who knew, those who played pranks. Queen Bjil immediately activated her energy shield. Apparently, the main hero used the Vibukov sword technique. Perhaps half of me has lost its demonic essence. The golden eggs scattered all over the place. But at this moment, Sven stagnated his vigilant energy. And then the Biol killers were completely finished. The hour has come to harvest the wine from the city. The lead hero cut the monster and took its core. Deep in the middle was the right prize, the Queen's Crystal. Sven immediately won the trophy. In this way, you will renew the wasted energy. The time has come to turn around. On the way to the alley, Gaval kept boasting about how he would look in front of his people. Due to her injury, she was afraid to change her shoes with Sven's help. And even more, the girl boasted about the treasure that you would bring, and she asked him to divide the kernels in full. I would like to understand that this is completely incontrovertible. The main character guessed to the girl that he was ready to give up everything if she would give him information in return. Sven wants to know the real reason why Gavul doesn't want to leave the corner. And then the girl brought the hero to her home. It was dark there. But as it turned out, this is not the best. The room smelled of rotting flesh. This smell comes out of a person, which lies in love until bed. That's Gavul's younger brother. Vin looked simply greedy. And all that lies in the blood of the Gargs. The girl cannot leave this place unless she herself brought her drink from the corner. And now I will have to worry about this sin until death. Sven spent the whole evening searching for the right decision. According to my guesses, it was clear that after the depletion of Exangle, Gavul was found alive. She had numerous injuries. That girl was stolen by Nod. The following was added before the organization. 3 of the keys, Sina, Lexi, and Minnie, are already available at the training center. The best place for development would be for Gavul to go there. The hero's thoughts were interrupted by the appearance of Arana Takana. The two explored all the vast territories and identified the relatives of the demonic beasts there. The time has come for Sven to voice his further plan of action. The hero reported that a few days later, a horde of orcs would attack the place. They will be tens of kings. The head monster is on its 4th day, and then no one can get back at him at this stage. So Sven decided to leave the battle and destroy Gavul. Khan insisted on trying to turn the residents of the stool in the same way. Alatiasi is unbearable. 300 of them were extinguished by the blood of the Gargs, and the decision is not made to resist the Byolam killers. If you try to join the Bai, then everything will perish. Todi Aran ordered the evacuation of local residents from the Yaku zone. However, it is unlikely that anyone would want to accept them. Sven told his comrades that their main mission was to assemble a team to subdue the demonic beasts. It was painful for him to realize his hopelessness in this situation, and there was no other way out. Before that, no matter what the circumstances, Gavul would not be able to abandon his people. Sven was more than happy, even now knowing the truth about her. Now is the time to voice the most painful decision. Aaron will not take part in the mission. Sven thought that the boy would rather go to Area 17 and become a guide there. And Gavul, Sven, and Khan go to Nod. The main hero, having made a decision, could not allow Aaron to perish on the battlefield. And it will be better for him since he is out of stock with the careless. Cotton is still brewing at night. And then Sven suddenly felt a wonderful noise. The hero immediately went to the watchtower to look out. His guesses were confirmed. The horde of orcs was already close. The news about the Swedish attack spread to the territory of the corner. Gavul said goodbye to her brother, and even understood that this battle would be the only one left for them. Exangle has buried chaos. Gavul suspected that the guests from Nodu would help in the battle, but they were nowhere to be found. And it became clear that even with them, the situation would not have changed. Gavul undertook to protect the other side alone. Their hatred for demonic beasts simply burned. For an hour, Sven and Han patiently monitored the situation on the safe side. At the same time, both of them praised Aaron. The stench suggested that the cotton had reached the 17th zone. Sven gave Khan a flying pheromone of mosquito-like demonic beasts. Any clever person can capture his presence from the orcs. In every corner there was a total poverty of people. Madame Sean, who was stealing the original wall, was injured. Sven and Han separated. And from time to time the lead hero would tell his comrade on the radio that it was necessary to complete the plan. Their goal is to turn Gavul. At this hour, the girl was already actively seeking demonic indulgences. Without any problems, Gavul ran into those who climbed onto the fortifications, and then she immediately went beyond her boundaries. The girl was taken away from both sides. Prot, the king, struck. Gavul supinila veletenska sokira. Ala was struck on the chest by a strong blow to the ground. Khan immediately told Sven about this. Most of all, the main hero does not want Gavul to get involved with the king. But in such a scenario, there is only one option left, to come to the rescue. About an hour later, Gavul climbed out of the ground and was preparing to attack a powerful enemy. However, his response repelled the pressing blow. The girl broke through the fortifications with her body. Sven rushed as fast as he could to help. And the king of the orcs was already approaching and would finish with Gavul. At this point, the girl could no longer chew or protect herself. But if the monster raised its hand to strike, Khan rushed to help. Yumu managed to block the blow. Behind the plan, Khan was responsible for not allowing Gavul to get along with the king. After the girl is married, the man is responsible for taking her away from a safe place. It's literally Plan B. As soon as Gavul gets closer to the king, Khan's honor is to remove him by one Hvilina. What time should we wait until the main hero arrives to help? So if Khan sensed the strength of a powerful enemy, then without singing, he could get away with it. Now we realize that Sven is respectful when he says that there is no way to lie to everyone. You may not even survive the battle against the Orc King, and now this monster is about to deliver another blow to Khan. The man knew that if he didn't get smart, he would definitely die. Luckily, Sven repelled the king's attack with his energy. You will come immediately. The main hero actively attracted respect to himself. Tim an hour, Khan continued Vikonuvadi plan, and within just a few seconds he had fled from Gavel on his back. The king does not want to let go of his treasure. Yogo, I appreciate the new feeling, having tried to screw the head hero. At the same time, the leader of the orcs now shouted in his foolish voice. Then he started his career as an orc mage. This is the 5th rank in qualification for telekinesis. In response, the magician ordered the orcs, Miss Livesey, to beat up the intruders. Sven buf prigolom sheni. Yumu had never heard of such orcs, and the boy did not lose anything, except for placing his trust in Khan. AJ is now checking with the new king of the orcs. At this moment, Khan decided to get up and get up. The man, having said 3 words, stops and translates them. Then behind me, I heard wonderful sounds. Khan noted with horror that he was being harassed by 2 orcs riding on giant wolves, and the stench was getting closer. One of the orcs was about to leave the victim. At that moment, he was struck by Vibuk's arrow. Vovkin the orc fell to the ground at once. Neither Khan nor anyone who had interrogated him understood what had happened, until the Mislevets felt the familiar voice from Dahu. There was air in there. Klopchina does not go to Zone 17, but will lose money and help his comrades. At this hour, on the outskirts of the corner of Exangle, there was a battle between Sven and the king of the orcs. Luckily, the main hero can focus only on the strongest enemy, and on the right is that no one can marry the king. Sven felt a strong energetic pressure. That's why you're in business. The hero used the Sword of the Monthly Sword technique. As it turned out, the orc repelled the attack with a strong force. At that same moment, Sven launched a blow to the nose of the giant pot. I wondered if I had won the attack. But the king of the orcs buried the hero with his hand, and then squeezing him to the ground. Sven just escaped. I turned my attention to the orc magician. Having said that now, in a second the hero noticed that the enemy had telekinesis. Some of the news will be raised. Sven guessed that the attack was attributed to a Yumu, activating his energy shield. However, the hero's carriage flew towards Khan from Gavel. About an hour later, Aaron continued shooting at the Misliv orcs. Then immediately the monsters began to huddle and began to separate. One of them continued the pursuit of Khan. That Aaron immediately shot someone, and the rest of the time I just kept an eye on the boy. If Aaron noticed that he should be surprised, then he stopped his attack on him. Unbelievably, that orc shouted, and after this, Aaron noted that some of them were going to fly on him. The boy did not mind the blow, but he survived. Because of this, my leg was now sore. The biggest one was in front. That same Miss Livets orc was already approaching the boy. The only thing that was lost in Arana was Minnie's pistol, and the battle between Sven and the king of the orcs was still travailing. The main character has decided to stagnate the technology that he has not yet lost in his life. This element was important to develop for Jackie. That Sven chuckled. She poured her energy into the sword and it turned into a golden treasure. There was only a rag on the king's body. But the hero's goal was different. He tried to defeat the magician who was standing behind the king. I walked away from Sven. The annoying servant was cut off, having fallen to his death. The third technique, the Endless Sword, trades sensitivity for strength, and this was enough for a poor magician. Now the king of the orcs has truly become angry. From the beginning, Sven only wanted to win an hour and gain the respect of the orcs so that Khan would duck, and now the hour has come for the hero himself to run away. For this reason, Sven used the Vibukov sword technique. Don't bring harm to the king of the orcs. Protect the hero at the moment of death. But it looks like the monster really wants to kill Sven. Ajay Navid Krisvogan having buried Yogo. I squeezed it so hard that the hero's spine was almost completely destroyed. The lad was still in charge of the energy shield. Then he placed his sword at the enemy's mouth. The ale was cut down with my teeth and the forest was grown. This kindness angered the main character. Then he again inserted the remaining sword into the king's mouth and concentrated his energy. This violence led to a vibration. And while we were blooming, Sven repeated the test the same time. He immediately activated the dry shield. And not for nothing, even the orc archers began to fire arrows at him. The hero's energy was at the limit. Before that, now no one had a sword artifact. And he managed to break through the withering barrier to the enemies. And now you won't be able to renew yourself as a result. One of the arrows struck at the shoulder. Sven concentrated all his energy on his strengthened lower body. I didn't have mercy. In this manner, the hero was allowed to flee. He took in what was discussed at the plan. And it is necessary to note that the traces of the Mislivian orcs are being separated. They stood next to them and followed the nuclear war, which struck Sven as marvelous. The lead hero rushed and stumbled upon a dead orc. He was located near the town of Sostrich with Khan. There was no other orc, and then Sven hurried to come and help his comrade. He is incredibly happy, having realized that everything is fine with Khan. Gavel lay unattractive. Khan had already put all his objects away, but the girl still didn't wake up. The man himself also took his wounds back to life and even left the funeral bag. Sven chuckled as Khan was able to lose sight of the fallen being displaced by the magician. And the man was amazed, even though nothing had fallen on him. And then I found out that Aaron helped me. The very old boy Khan managed to flow in with the Mislift orcs. Sven learned with horror that the attack was attributed to Eren, and now it became clear where the other orc mind was going. The hero Mitya rushed to look for the boy with the hope that he was still alive. Orc mages may be able to interact with other orcs, and aiming at Eren was not a problem for them. Sven lost another 1,300,000 of energy, and whose fault it is to fight one orc. So if the main hero arrives at the place, he will be the leader of the Veletensky Volk. Sven got ready for the fight, and then I felt Eren's voice. Klopchen ordered Vova not to scratch the main character. To great surprise, the beast listened to the little one. And then Eren announced that he had awakened. At the moment, when the orc Mislivets knew the boy, he tried to grab the help of a pistol. However, Eren's hand was also damaged and the target was unable to recover his mind. The monster hit the small one with a zebra, and then shading my shoulder. Orcs love human meat. Eren knows well. The boy is also smart enough to die before he can take the monster away from him. At this moment, Eren felt a strong pain in his chest. And then he felt that someone was offering him his help. There was no one around the orc and the wolf. The boy felt like all sorts of thoughts were pouring into his head. When you look at the wolf again, you realize that the beast itself has been brutalized again. The orc was already planning to hit the boy with a copy. Eren asked for additional help. A giant wolf attacked an orc. Cotton Mitsu bought a pistol and shot the monster in the head. In this manner, Aran was given a vision. But now it's a new experience. Sven adjusted the boy's brushes. And at the same time, Vikaristov Tsilyushu Sumish. The main hero of the understanding is that the boy is supposed to belong to one of the 6 types, a tidy-up of evil. But it is so rare that there are only a dozen such awakened ones. This means that Eren will be the color of the final battle against the demonic spirits. Tom Sven greeted the boy and asked him to come to Nodu. The lead hero is ahead, so it won't be easy there. That Eren, having respected what is worse, lower near the desert, simply cannot. And I gladly accepted the proposition. The moment Eren squeezed Sven's hand, he didn't feel anything. The voice of the memory-devouring one mumbled, and I saw the main hero only once. That was with a human being who is not yet familiar with his life. No matter how much the hero tries, he won't find anything good between the two of them. Gavel only woke up after a few days. At that moment, that Sven's team was already on the transport ship Noda. The girl saw what had happened. But once she calmed down, the main hero recognized everything as it was. Gavel wanted to know what Sven needed from her, and he informed that he was forming the strongest team for the reduction of demonic beasts. And I want Gavel to get tired of it until now, so that she would distill her wrath like a scorch for the future of life and her future struggle. Without shedding any tears, Gavul gave up the fight until the end. Not long ago, the ship arrived at the island, where Nodu's headquarters was located. But before he left the tiger's leg, Sven asked them to use saws. That's the only way they'll be able to live. 3 months have passed. Sven became captain of the 403rd Corral of Nod. Yogo's protector is Sina. As the main hero planned, all the friends from the desert fell under his command. The Stinkers have already completed the basic training program. After this, the skin will remove the swelling associated with the marks and continue training. But before doing so, beginners must undergo testing. Sven collected all the data for the briefing. Instead of basic training, the guilty ones will fight against real demonic monsters. And if you don't want to get stuck, then die. Meta task: protect the mermaids who gather to spawn near the stove. Animals reach the 10th rank. There are about 60 mermaids at the stove for Nod's data. A demonic beast of S rank was also revealed there. Eren was no longer worried. Prot Nod has already eliminated the monster. Khan said that he would be so kind as to give him the strength to fight against such a number of opponents. That main character noted that mermaids only show their full strength near the water. At the moment, there is no water in the oven, and therefore the rank of monsters will change. The first to go to the Sventisena stove. There was plenty of space there. If they occupy the entire width, the members of the pen will have to move 5 in a line. To brighten the thoughts of Sano and June, they distilled the power of fire. Having completed the act, stand up in the middle, the main character noticing that there is still water near the stove. The same rhubarb burns down the knees, and it does not affect the strength of the mermaids. Sven believed that there was no further need. The lead hero ordered the 2 recruits to go on reconnaissance missions. The boys were incredibly afraid. Sven was even more afraid of the stench, and they obeyed the order. The reshta of the corral was checked at the place. About an hour later, Sven's bracelet gave a signal, and almost immediately the distributors showed up. The Stinks ran wild and asked for help. The mermaids were annoying. Sven ordered everyone to take combat positions. The first group began to remove the withered shield. The archers were at the ready. The rashta of Mislivs began to clear the road for the end of the Swedish entrance. The mermaids rushed to attack. A few pieces of them immediately burned upon contact with the bar. It was incredibly scary for newcomers to try the boards close to this point. However, the stench of my husband was noticeable. The mermaids did not attack. Working together, they managed to create a crack in the bar. At this point, the archers were preparing to attack. The stinks could not be removed from the cannonballs and fragments of the stove could fall down, and they treated him with only the most extreme arrows. Suddenly a gap appeared near the crack of the shield, and suddenly the mermaids made their way through. Gavel rushed into the attack. With one hand of a wild beast, the girl conquered the demonic deed. The other one has a congestion in her throat. It seemed that the mermaids didn't stand a chance against Gavel. This girl knew from childhood how to fight. On the other side, Khan. You cannot be called a genius, but hard work and training brought miraculous results. Now the man can easily cut mermaids on all sides. To assist archers and melee fighters, the first line updated the shield. After the depletion of dozens of monsters, Gavel learned this. And she was already confused when she noticed that Sven was not helping, but was relying on Aaron. The girl was in a storm. And then the main hero took up the sword. The hour has come for active offensive actions. The withered shield was taken. The Mislivians who trimmed the bar did a good job. Sina and Lexi began to help the sufferers. All close combat fighters were getting ready. Forward Vishov's leading hero. We decided to bear the brunt of the blow and to punish our comrades about the death of the monsters. Hit Sven with the bullets without dogs. One by one the mermaids fell to the ground. Gavel and Khan have already begun to bother, even after the main character of the water monster was not lost. Despite the brilliant success, there were still plenty of opponents. And then Sven used the technique, Sword of the Monthly Saiv. The result was miraculous, but the stove reacted to the pressure of the energy. The Kaminsi fell on the heads of the Mislevites, and it's worth it if the main hero has stagnated with only a third of his power. It looked like a battle with tied hands and feet. Despite the possibility of falling under the rubble of the furnace, Sven could not use the Vibichov sword technique. However, fighting with mermaids for the help of only one sword was ineffective. Raptum, something strange has begun to happen among the opponents. The mermaids began to fight among themselves. Khan and Gavel did not understand the people on the right. Lish Sven knew what the robot Aaron was. Klopchina penetrated the mind of one of the monsters and encouraged him to fight with his comrades. Same about this and asking Sven from the lad not long before the onset. And Aaron got stuck. Although it is obvious that it is not easy for you to earn money. In his thoughts, the boy was thinking about those who, if possible, would penetrate Belkist's mind. And then we must take revenge for the deprivation of Mokdan and the death of everyone who is alive there. If chaos and beating surrounded the mermaids, Sven punished the Mislivians for their lives. Now it has become much easier to capture monsters. And already for a decade of being under the command of the main character, I was able to overcome. The mermaid lost only her life, having previously controlled Aaron. Unknown to Sven, he approached to finish off the remaining enemy. Cotton did not immediately dare to sever the ties from the beast, and he launched an attack on his shell. At this moment, Sven pierced the mermaid's breasts. Aaron screamed in pain. Vin Prishov do Tiami, prote do Sivajhav, show wounded in the heart itself. Sinamichu rushed to help. In a second, she realized that everything was wrong with Aaron. The angry healer told him that it would be better not to fry her like that. After the battle was over, the Mislivians began to collect their treasures. At this point, Sven noted the difference between the people from the desert and those who lived in the brightest mines. The psyche of the first was prepared for unsafe situations and the fight against demonic beasts. Sven praised Arana for her good work. I also noted that the cotton does not feel very good. We understand that it is too early to think about animal control for S rank. Aaron's eyes began to pour out tears, and the boy doesn't understand what's going on with him. Then the main character went to bed, and from the Senoi, Kanom and Gavel went to check the mouth of the oven. And now the heroes have spent yet another unknown passage. This was not indicated to Jodny from Nod's records. This oven is where recruits are regularly tested, and they all ended their mission with 60 mermaids, approximately the hem in the 304th round. Judging by this, nutrition is to blame. If mermaids gather here to spawn, then these signs are to blame. The Mislevites didn't know anything. Before that, the animal tells about its offspring. That is why, first of all, the invasion of the Mislifs on this territory was responsible for the appearance of mermaids. However, the stink will continue to smell here. Sven let it go. What's different? What's wrong with the stench, threatening the animals to come here? The lead hero informed the instructor at the training center, Olivia, about the discovery. It turns out that all the front teams were simply muttering about the presence of a passage at the stove. Olivia assumed that some kind of monster might be making his way in such a manner. I was afraid that the foodwalkers wouldn't turn around. To clarify everything, the instructor sent regular soldiers to the grave. That Sven will also lose his worries, like a certificate. At the same time, Sina, Khan, and the White Lexi were lost. I have a chance to turn around at the stove again. The team of Miss Lifsey regular soldiers did not bother themselves for a long time. The stench arrived on a helicopter. Team leader Doman introduced himself immediately. Together with him there was a girl, Sakura, and 2 men, Guan and Dix. Sven also introduced his team and sang so that the stench could give a headache. That Domina noted that there was no need for him. They respected that it was not difficult for the newcomers to work with them, which is what the instructor Olivia wanted. The main hero leads the Myslivtsi to an invisible passage. As soon as it appeared, the stench began to appear here. The training of Doman's team took place at a different place. Sakura immediately noted that the stove, which smelled like a stench, was a piece of furniture. And it is obvious that this path was not paved by worms. Miss Livette's dicks know a sign above the entrance. It said first there. Everyone had plenty of food and was insecure. However, Doman didn't want to turn around. He threw a small stone in the aisle, and landing safely, approximately 100 meters later. The Dominion took command on himself and the Mislevites destroyed further. Everyone was incredibly tense. It became even more bare and hot near the stove. Raptum, Doman stumbled with his foot. It's a human skull. The unknown discovery alarmed the Mislivians even more, but no one knew it. Sven was worried. Denmark's climate is humid. And if he happens to meet with a high-ranking monster, everything will be in trouble. Never before seen people reach the expansion of the oven. And they seemed to be hanging there. The Dominion attributed its support to the ease of the newcomers. That Sven explained that on the right and that they voluntarily entered Nod, and then decide not to understand them. At this moment, Lexi became wary. Sven also sensed the wonderful energy. Doman ordered his comrades to take a fighting position. The mermaids were approaching the Myslivtsi again. Only the stench was significantly greater than those in front. The main hero pulled out his sword, and Doman Yogo Zupaniv. He sang that the thoughts of the regular troops will break into these tasks. A team of professionals rushed to attack. The baked pie has sprouted. 3 Mislivians were actively searching for mermaids. Dix lost the ability to protect the main character's team. Already from the first days, Sven became aware that he was writhing for nothing. Obviously, the soldiers of the regular army are of the 3rd rank, and the leader of the group is the 1st. Raptum, Sven noticed that one mermaid had sneaked up to him. But she did not manage to raise the sword, as Dix had lost the trick. Mensch, as in 10 days, Doman's team lost 30 monsters. That whole thing was just a warm-up for them. After this, Sven and Khan undertook to verify that none of the animals were lost alive. Domina was already shocked by the cold-bloodedness of the hero. That Sven explained this with evidence at the desert. The Myslivtsi vanished far away. Todi Khan admitted that he doesn't feel very comfortable in his 11th place among such professionals. Sven Rozumiev is almost a friend. But immediately the trace was wriggling. Raptum, Doman got a little better now. All Michu's mystics hurried to the next one. In front of everyone there was a spacious stove with no fireflies. Sven noted that this place also applies to natural products. However, the Gursky breeds were wary. The stench is quite noticeable and uncharacteristic for this island. Besides, fireflies are part of the Pacific Ocean, and it's also not their fault. It seems that someone has moved this place at once with an invisible force. While the main hero was wearing his middle hat, the soldiers of the regular army poked their heads out and found even more. Sven and the team hurried to take a look. There was a gigantic void in the depths of the oven. Her arms alone spanned 2 meters. The essence was chained to the stone and did not collapse. And the people thought that she was not alive. Only Sven stood there caught in the heat. Vinpisnavtsi region. Then Mitya ordered his comrades to grab the rocks and be ready. No one has understood anything on the right. The stone from the head began to fall behind. Vona snapped. Regia's eyes lit up. And then the mouth opens up on her breasts. Istoda buried her tongue behind Guan's leg. Sven tried to grab the man but didn't catch him. Regia pulled the victim up to the mouth and began to eat the leg. Guan hit the pot with a hammer. In this manner, you decided to Vervatisha. If you are now without a leg, you won't be able to run away. The Doman punished Senya for violating his comrade. The girl immediately hurried to help. At that same moment, Sven stopped them and ordered them to turn back. The Dominion did not deserve this, even though he was the boss here. But the hero did not dare to compromise. My comrades are threatened by insecurity. Sven punished Senya for the activities on the rise, and the girl listened. Then he explained to Domina that Regia is an S-rank demon. 5 reasons for this have appeared in New Zealand. Together with Nodum, they exuded the truth. However, information about this is not available everywhere, as the 2 organizations are at odds. As a matter of fact, the members of the regular army know nothing about this fact. About an hour later, Regia woke up again. In order to get ahead of her attack, Doman decided to attack first. At this point, Dix took it upon himself to show respect. Aleda pierced the Myslivtsia with a tense light exchange from the eyes. Sakura was caught in a panic. The fight against the main character was not unnecessary. Even on the way to this place, Sven noted how the local climate was affecting the Misli residents. The Stinks first became familiar with the S-rank monster at a sufficiently equipped camp, and at the same time they cannot control half of the powerful forces. About an hour later, Regia's eyes began to glow again and even brighter. Having punished Sven, he stopped the withered shield. Alistada did not attack, but buried Dix's body with her tongue. At this moment, Doman rushed to the attack. Aliyogo immediately struck Regia's mind. The story continued to be frequent. Sakura began to run away. However, the enemy has caught up with them. The same share checked on Gvan. Immediately after the girl's death, Regia's body was cut to pieces, In the demon's field of vision, only the main hero was lost. And I strictly ordered my comrades to lose their place as long as I can't reach them there. It's a wonder that Regia didn't attack Sven right away. First, the spirit began devouring the corpses. And at this moment, the main hero is victorious for the future. But I couldn't imagine losing something unmarked. Regia's attack hit the main character directly. The withered shield scattered among the friends. Landing after the fall, Sven noticed that the demon was again preparing to attack. The boy was surprised at the last moment to put up the shield. How many times have you looked through the mirror and caught a stalactite? Kamyana shaved fell in line with Sven. And the lad Vikaristav Yogo yak prikritya. The tension of the situation increased. Sven Rozumiv how much he admires his comrades. The exit from the unsafe zone is far away. Mysteries cannot be reached and come close to anything else, but the region will devastate everyone. Everyone marveled at how Sven managed to stay calm. The one on the right was in the fact that the hero had already had the opportunity to fight against the S-rank several times. I wanted this to happen in my past life. Todi Regia showed up 2 years later. It broke through right under the headquarters of Nodu and took the lives of 39 soldiers of the regular army. At this hour, Sven was near the desert. As soon as he drank the asp, the main character got drunk and woke up. Sven was not ignorant of the fact that the Gursky breeds of these furnaces are not known for their locality. The current appearance of the monster can be seen from those who sealed him away, the sign of which is also the magical Kolo, which is located behind Regia. People with magical powers meet very rarely, and those who concealed the S-level monster are the only ones in Nodu and Oa. The strength of these two meta-humans was enough to cast a magic circle on Regia. However, it was very important to teleport the table to tell them. And Sven appreciates that just before the hour of the demon's transfer, within an hour and space, there was a reprieve. And for this reason, the truth began here, and not near the Pacific Ocean. If there was witchcraft between organizations, we would not voluntarily interfere with those that could become the cause of war. The main character's confession was interrupted by the sound of a stone. Regia began to signet her hand, and this means that the people of the city should continue to drink from the flow until the flow is completely cleared. At this hour, Regia continued to devour parts of the bodies of the Mislivians. The moment she forged half of Guan, Sven launched an energy core into her mouth. The moon has burst into flames. That truth did not flinch and immediately attacked in exchange for confirmation. Sven Ledvi was surprised. The beggar's hand sealed the hero's hand, depriving him of the painful pain. Sina immediately gave help. At this point, Lexi noted another exit behind Sven. He escaped after Regia's attack. The main character can easily penetrate there. The first team did a good job. Natimus Sven was preparing to win the respect of the monster, but his comrades fled first. The main hero used the technique Sword of the Monthly State. At this moment, Khan, Lexi, and Sina ran away from the nearest passage. Regia's respect was centered on Sven's energy. The monster repelled the attack after helping me, and then immediately attacking the hero. Sven quickly accelerated his lower body, feeling overwhelmed. Hiding behind the stone again, the hero noticed that his comrades were already at the passage. However, they were looking at the commander and were now ready to cover him. Sven Rozumiv, nothing will come of it, and he stopped the Vibakov sword and aimed the attack at the upper part of the tunnel. The stone began to sizzle and blocked the way back for the comrades. They can help by informing you about the situation at Nodu's headquarters. Todi, the main hero, felt a familiar cry. Regia has seen it. Sven realized that she herself was calling mermaids from this place. After this, the essence began to eat Domin's body again. For the fate of the monster is to blame for weakening. But now, devouring the bodies of the Mislevites, Regia completely renews the power energy. And if you have another body of Sakuri, then you can again turn into a signet. Sven noted the similarity of his process with his own features. And then you want to try to take the monster's powers. The hero activated Poglanaukshan memory. Regia mumbled when she asked. Altodi screamed and beat Sven's test. Nothing came of it. The glazing effect on the monsters does not work. Regia hurried to dump Sakuri's body. Once upon a time, the main hero began to mislead her. Sven groaned. The Sword of the Monthly State. The intense energy of the technique cut the tongue, and she became terribly angry. Regia crushed in exchange a piece of stone for which the lead hero was going after. Until that hour, I have enough strength to destroy the stone. Alas, everything has changed for the Mislivians of the regular military. If you lose a single exit, it's gone. Sven was confident that he could meet with the S-like virgin of the oven. He lost all of 40,000 of energy. With a sharp acceleration of the lower part of the body from the dry shield, Sven was able to reach the passage. The monster's heavy attacks caused a collapse. At this moment, Khan, Sina, and Lexi poked their heads through the stove, disappearing from the mermaids. As a result of the vibration, more passages appeared and more mermaids appeared. The forces of the mystics were practically exhausted, and the demonic essences were exhausted. In the end, Khan decided to stop and accept the battle. There was little chance of victory, even though there were almost 20 monsters. Sina was getting ready to kiss her comrade on the road. Vaughn was eager for Lex's encouragement, but she just said, "It's not yet." The healer could not guess what this girl was thinking about. I was really angry with Sven for taking Lexi herself from the stove. Khan tried his best. Through the marriage of forces, the person often recovers from injuries. Senya also had to spend a lot of energy on her goal. The mermaids squeezed, and there were even more of them. Human regeneration was achieved entirely through sleep, and when it seemed that the end had come, Lexia began to work. The girl pushed against Senya, and she felt a strong surge of energy. Then Lexi went straight to Khan and did the same. The man felt how strong he was to turn around. Once again, he awakened again. The situation at the battle has changed. Khan began to see mermaids left and right, and in just a few weeks I'll be able to overcome it. Only now Sina has guessed that Lexia's memory is the awakening of strength. It is designed to completely renew the energy of another person for a moment. Sena realized that Lexi collapses and speaks so little, rather than save strength. Sven did not know about this particularity. After activation, Lexia's memory completely ran out of energy. Vaughn really couldn't give in on her own. And then Sina helped the girl. At this moment, the Earth-Truder started. Sven rushed through the tunnel with all his strength and almost ran into a blockage. That year, the stone began to actively sift. The same situation was in the team's decision. The stoves began to crumble over the girls' heads. Khan called to run to the next one in order to fight under the rubble under the shield. That Lexi couldn't change her shoes anymore. And so as not to interfere with the Sen, she headed towards Khan. The girl herself fell asleep under the rubble. The Hay was just about to start shouting Lex's name.